live, everyone. So good evening. Welcome to the February 6th school board meeting. Tonight we're actually going to start with a public hearing. So we're going to hold off on the Pledge of Allegiance and calling the meetings to order for the school board. The public hearing was posted a couple of weeks ago. This public hearing is for the board to hear public comment on the consideration for withdrawal of up to $60,000 from the Capital Improvement Expendable Trust Fund for the purposes of extending our contracted services for Harriman and Harvey Construction for the continuation of services throughout this calendar year and into next year, into 2027, to get us to a March of 2027 vote on a GMS renovation. Did I get that correct? Perfect. So with that, I would like to open it up to the community for input and for any feedback to the board on a potential motion this evening on that withdrawal from that Capital Improvement Expendable Trust Fund. No. There has been a lot of social media commentary on this, so I just want to be really clear on the intent and purpose of this. This is not a net new ask or withdrawal for a specific new purpose of this Capital Improvement Expendable Trust Fund. This is funds that the voters have already approved and set aside for GMS renovations. And this is a continuation of the contracted services we have already have been in contract with for Harriman and Harvey Construction, and allowing us to get to that March of 2027 vote. So this is a continuation of that service for 2026 and into 27, and just a continuation of those services.
I'll make a motion to approve the withdrawal of $60,000 from the capital.
Up to
$60,000 from the Capital Improvements Expendable Trust Fund.
Thank you. There's a motion by Mr. Shoemaker.
I will second.
A second by Mr. DeWitt. Any additional discussion on that? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on this. Mr. Shoemaker?
Aye.
I am an aye. Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
That carries 3-0. Thank you very much. And with that, that closes our public hearing this evening, and we're going to move into our regularly scheduled school board meeting. And with that, I will call the school board meeting to order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just in terms of a quorum this evening, we do have 3 representatives. I am expecting Mr. Plansky to join a little bit late this evening. I believe Mr. Peoples is joining. I haven't heard otherwise, so we might see him momentarily as well. In terms of consent, or excuse me, any changes to tonight's agenda? In terms of consent, anything off the committee reports the board would like to discuss this evening? Nope. All right, hearing none. Summary of non-public actions from April 15th. Mr. Shoemaker moved to approve the April 1st public meeting minutes. Mr. Plansky seconded that motion. That carried 3-0. Mr. Shoemaker moved to approve the resignation of Alexa Romanello as the GMS school nurse. Mr. Plansky seconded that motion. That motion passed 3-0. Mr. Shoemaker motioned to approve the retirement of Robin Corbeil as an LMS computer science teacher. Mr. Plansky seconded that motion. That motion passed 3-0. And with that, moving right along, we have presentations and recognitions this evening, and I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Sure. So I'm going to welcome up Beth Belanger and her daughter Amelia Belanger to come up here for a special presentation. So if you guys want to come up to the table.
Hi, welcome.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
There you go.
So, of course, yeah. As long as it's okay with them, it's okay with us. Yeah.
Being recorded anyway.
So a little background for the board. Beth had reached out on behalf of her daughter in the fall, I think it was originally, right? Yeah. Because Amelia had an idea to support her friend in terms of adaptive swing. We thought the fundraising was going to take a while, and it didn't. So we're here much sooner than we anticipated in doing that. And so I'll let Amelia say her piece, and then we can talk some more afterwards about some of the other stuff. So.
Hi everyone, my name is Amelia Belanger and I'm 8 years old and a third grader at North School in Londonderry. Today I want to tell you about my really special friend Ellie. Ellie is a first grader at GMS and she is one of the funniest and bravest people I know. She has a very rare condition and every year I like to do a fundraiser for Ellie, and usually we help places like hospitals that take care of Ellie and other kids because helping others is really important to me. Last summer I noticed something that made me a little sad. When Ellie was at school, there wasn't a swing that was safe for her to use, and Ellie loves to swing.
She does love to swing.
It was one of her favorite things to do. So I asked my mom, can we do my fundraiser this year to get Ellie a swing? And she said yes. She helped by talking to all the right people, and we got permission to make it happen. Then I worked really hard to raise money. With everyone's help, we were able to order a special swing just for Ellie and other kids who need it. Tonight, I'm so happy to and proud to present this swing to GMS. I hope it can be installed soon so Ellie can swing, smile, and have fun at recess just like every kid should. Thank you to everyone who helped me make this happen.
Wow. Emil, you have such a big heart. Thank you very much for that presentation tonight. You did such a wonderful job for your friend Ellie. You have a lot to be proud of.
She's really good for him.
Yeah.
Very impressive for an 8-year-old.
Very, very impressive.
Yes, so we're here tonight because we have to formally accept the donation of the swing. The swing is here. I'm not taking it out of the box right this second. For everyone's who don't know what the adaptive swing looks like, I've put a picture on the screen. This is what the company we worked with to get it from. You've probably seen this in other playgrounds and different places. It's like a latch swing with a different type of seat in it. It's an adaptive swing because any student can use it. It's not exclusive to any student can use it, right? Whether disability rates are irrelevant. So it will be open to all students, but obviously Ellie is who we want. We're kind of targeting here for use and stuff like that. We've been in contact with the playground people here, Burke and stuff, to make sure the installation goes well. We'll take over as long as the board accepts the donation. I have a feeling you're going to accept it. Like, as long as the donation moves forward, we'll take care of now the installation and everything kind of associated with that. We've worked on that. We're fortunate that our swing bay meets the requirements already to handle this type of swing. And we're going to try and get that done as soon as next week. That's our plan, to get it up. Maybe this week, we'll see how the weather holds up. But as soon as we can get out there and get it, because we've been working on that part to make sure the installation goes very smoothly from our standpoint. So if the board is willing, I'm asking for your permission to accept this donation on behalf of Ellie.
I will make a motion to accept that donation.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Shoemaker,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Plansky. Additional discussion on this one?
Nope.
All right, we really appreciate all of your hard work. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, 4-0. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you out there and swinging safely.
So you guys are welcome to stay, but you do not need to. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a good picture. You know, kids of all shapes and sizes can kind of use it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a really nice
fantastic.
thing. It's easy. It's a latch there. It's very safe.
Yeah.
But also very simple to use.
Install?
What's that?
Is it easy to install?
Yes, yeah. We have to have the right installation, like bolts and stuff, and there's a guide to it that we worked with to make sure that we had in hand so we can take care of this, but it will fit right on our bay, which
Great.
is nice. So
Excellent. Okay.
we checked with Primates, all of the insurance, like there was a lot of those little details that we
Right.
worked on behind the scenes, and we are ready for all of that stuff to get this up.
Grateful a few years back we had new swing sets put in.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have food service.
Yeah, I mean, food service is also exciting. I don't.
I mean,
yeah.
kind of a hard act to follow.
That's a really hard act to follow, but
You could just say you fed all of them.
I fed all of LMS today. Not me personally. It was a team effort, but yes. Hi, everybody.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, same old, same old. Not well. It's been a year. It's been a busy year, but I think it's been a good year. It's been a very productive year. So we'll dive right on into this. I have a relatively quick presentation, and then I'll finish off with some highlights. And yeah, I'll be on my merry way, hopefully. So we'll rip the Band-Aid off. I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody that we will operate in a deficit this year. And I will go into detail about that as well. But I do want to reiterate and remind everybody that if it weren't for labor coming out of our budget per the National School Lunch Program, we would be golden. Operationally speaking, we would be self-sustaining, no problem. But because the labor, and that includes my salary all the way down to a food service sub, since it has to come out of the food service budget, that is what causes our deficit every single year. Unfortunately, because it's federally subsidized, we have to follow their guidelines, which again, I will dive into. But let's, so now we started on a downer. Great. Let's go back to some good stuff. There are a lot of good things that have happened this year. So overall, we're up 3% on breakfast, about 500. And all of this is through April 30th. So we did just get back from break. So we're food service always kind of operates, fiscally like a month behind just because you have to report everything at the end of the month. So compared to last year, we're up 3% in breakfast. We are down about 1.7% in lunches, but that's not something I'm necessarily worried about for value lunches. And our a la carte revenue is up $6,800 over FY25, which is about 7.8%. We've had a lot of success with our a la carte programs. But honestly, and I was surprised putting this together, not in the way that I would have thought it was, where like I thought it was going to be successful. So I'm very excited to share that with you guys as well. So increase in a la carte has been primarily I genuinely thought it was going to be at middle school. It's been primarily at Campbell, and it's actually been the vending machine. That vending machine that we purchased a few years ago, which by the way, next year we will own outright. So we are up, it's doubled over last year. So it's increased 46.52 over FY25 for the same time period. Our girls at the high school, I have one of them. She is obsessed with the vending machine. She keeps it full. She keeps it stocked. She has new items rotating in and out. Bagels and cream cheese, we can't keep them stocked fast enough. So kids are buying. So again, it's increased $4,600 from compared to this time last year. In addition to a la carte items, iced coffee alone has also contributed about $1,100, and that's not because Matt's been buying all of it.
I was gonna say,
You haven't, no. You've been quiet. I was worried about you, actually. Which I thought that would have been more of the driver, but the vending actually blew me away with how much money it's been making. And again, we will not be paying for that next year, so all of that will just be cash money coming in. We did increase in a la carte at LMS as well. Not as drastic. Of that, what was it, 7.8%. The majority of it was like the Campbell increase. But the addition of offering a second pizza slice to grades 6 through 8 has added in $1,800 in sales. It actually went from about 690 on this time last year, like individual slices, to over 1,500 this year, which has been really, really great. Our team at the middle school are fabulous. They've added in an addition of featured hot snacks. So every Tuesday and Thursday, they'll do things like, they'll do like a little corn dog basket, or they'll do curly fries, or there's something and that's added another $3,600 in sales. Another thing that this, again, boggled my mind, because when you're in the day-to-day, you don't really look at these kind of like numbers and stuff, but my demand for catering alone, and I am the catering department for the district, has increased 90% over last year. And I actually think, now that I was thinking about it on my way over, I think it's actually doubled, which is awesome, which means all of that money is coming back into the program. So that's been a really big increase just in creativity of being utilized in in the district as well. Like today, for example, again, we fed myself and my two girls at the middle school, we fed all of the middle school breakfast this morning, which would end up being a catering event type thing. So that's gone really, really well. And this year, to get creative, I dabbled in retail baking a little bit. It's part of my background educationally. I am actually a pastry chef and learned on retail baking. So at Thanksgiving, I dabbled with some pumpkin bread that went over pretty well. It was available limitedly publicly. I didn't want to suddenly get smacked with like 600 orders of pumpkin bread, and I'm one human. It's very helpful that we have that second mixer now, because guess what we're doing next year? But that ended up giving us about $475 in sales. And I mean, I don't want to call this person out, but like, it was pretty good, right?
Oh, I was gonna say.
I get a message.
Myself out on
I
this.
no, I get a message. I am not even home, and I've already eaten the loaf. Like it was. I will say, and
Thought too.
yeah, it was great. They could get, so we dabbled with that. I limited to 2 per household, and I added on like a maple whipped cream cheese that they could, if they wanted to add on or not. And it went really, really well, which has inspired my ideas to go a little bit further. And I'm thinking of doing more retail baking, which is legal in our program because it doesn't use like government food. It's all, stuff I would buy normally. So it would fall under the catering. So it doesn't have any kind of, it's not sketchy in terms of like dealing with like an audit. And it's a creative way to get a little bit more money in. So we're looking at expanding, I'm looking at expanding that into next year. So next slide, please. Thanks. So in terms of everything, again, and because it is default this year, we do have the same budget as FY25, but we're trending very similarly to FY25 in terms of our spending. It's not very drastic from month to month, and our revenues are pretty, again, they're pretty even with all of that, and especially with the increase in those 2 schools. So kind of added everything up and kind of looked based off of last year, and knowing all of this, we're anticipating another about $110,000 in revenue to come through by the end of the year. And that includes daily sales, catering, reimbursement rates, and a bunch of other stuff, that goes in. We all know what revenues are. Sorry, I'm very tired. And I do anticipate, actually, I know there's going to be a massive decrease in our operating expenses. So right now in May, we have stopped purchasing snacks. We have stopped, and we're just running things down at the middle and the high school. So that's about, I'd say 25% of our expenses. We're not buying drinks anymore. We're not buying snacks. It's just we're running down. And it's a way to kind of clear out some of the miscellaneous odds and ends that we have in our freezers and get a little creative and, sell things out as well to our students. My goal, as it is every year, is to not spend a dime in June, and I'm usually pretty successful with the exception of milk and pizza, because those are weekly orders. Other than that, usually by the end of May, I have placed our grocery order for the rest of the year, and we kind of wrap up then. So based on the last 2 years with where we're kind of going, I'm anticipating, and I think it's a pretty safe anticipated deficit of $90,000. Obviously, it's not ideal. I would love to sit there and go, it's not going to happen. But unfortunately, again, as I feel like I say all the time, the program itself is broken. The amount of money we get as a reimbursement rate does not cover all of the expenses it should help offset. And it's more than just food and labor. It's utilities, repairs, equipment. Goodness, laundry, oh my God, all the things, furniture, technology, it's just not. So, I do want to put that reminder in there. And the reason why I anticipate it to be higher than it was last year, it was about, we said 89. So actually we're kind of right on target, but if it is higher than, what I'm anticipating it to be, we did have the LSSA contract that even though we are in default budget, it did increase. And again, labor comes out of my budget, and health insurance increases, as we all know and are aware, because we've been living our health insurance lives the last year. So that would affect our deficit, and it affects our increases in the labor side of our expenses. If labor, like I said, I keep saying it, I'm sorry. If labor was paid out of the general fund, we'd be fine, and I would be like, I don't know how to spend this money down. It just, unfortunately, it kind of is what it is, and I don't agree with it, but here I am.
So in comparison to our cohorts, which is next,
It is next.
right? How are we?
Well, I would be so happy to answer that for you. Before we get too far into it, I just want to ask the board your opinions and thoughts on this. This initial right here that we have, I've taken out Bow and Pelham and I moved them into the second slide of this. This is the cohort that when I started in Litchfield this is the cohort we use. I don't think it's an accurate representation, and I don't find it to be very, even though geographically they are our neighbors around us, their enrollment is so drastically different from ours.
More than double.
Yeah, and I don't feel it's
Or
a.
less than half.
Right, yeah, yes. I don't know why Sunapee on there, but and and I do know and talk to a lot of these directors. So I do have this is all their current pricing and whatever. But I find the second slide has a lot more. It's a lot more consistent with what we are in terms of enrollment. So going forward, if it's okay with the board, I would like to just reference this group of districts. I mean, we can change it if you like, and maybe not focus so much on the larger ones because I just don't feel like it's accurate.
It's helpful just to have a barometer of what everyone's doing.
Yeah, sure.
Just to see kind of that benchmark of where we fit in with everyone else.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think breaking apart a cohort into just a geographic cohort versus a cohort based on enrollment size.
Sure.
I mean, theoretically, there's another cohort which is based off of taxpayer base, but we don't need to get overcomplicated.
Yep.
I think that this is more than sufficient to give us an idea of what we're looking
I,
at.
Okay.
I agree, and I think the story, at least from the numbers that I see, is we're still one of the highest.
We absolutely are. Yes. I will say over the course of the last 2.5 days, 3 days, whatever it is, I've reached out to many of these directors. All right, I have it all written down. So I did not hear from, it's easier to list that, where'd it go? I did not hear from Sunapee, Hopkinton, Winnisquam, or Guilford. And then in my presentation preparing, I completely forgot to email Bo altogether. So technically I didn't hear from Bo either.
Send a text real quick.
Yeah, just text her. It's fine. Hey, Tiff, sorry. Allegedly, she just got back from Italy, so she's busy anyway. Everybody, right? Everybody that I have talked to, so Hudson, Wyndham, Hillsborough, Deering, Merrimack, Epping, Milford, Pelham, Raymond, and I said Merrimack already. They're all proposing meal price increases. Hudson actually did theirs mid-year.
They just did it recently.
They did. And everybody that I just listed, Hudson, Wyndham, Hillsborough, Deering, Merrimack, Milford, Pelham, and Raymond are all anticipating ending in a negative deficit this year. And this is different than other past years because I'm like, small school districts. For Wyndham and Hudson to be ending negatively, I think is pretty telling of where the program is kind of heading. Hudson, at the time was I just know this because I helped her with her board presentation. They were anticipating $400,000 in the negative, which is terrible, especially given their enrollment size. So of the ones I just listed that are stating that they are going to end in the negative, most of them cited labor increases as the cause. So again, similar boat to what we're doing or what we're facing.
So for the enrollment cohort,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that are ending negative, are we on par with the?
I didn't get into specific numbers per se. I kind of just asked what are you looking at are you proposing a meal price increase? Are you,
Yep.
I'm not proposing a meal price increase. And if the board wishes to discuss that, I mean, have all the fun doing it. I'm not proposing that because again, as it was pointing out, we are still pretty high, all things considered. But I didn't get into the nitty gritty of it. I know I had a full on conversation with the Wyndham director. Hers was not labor related, but it was through an initiative that one of the high school principals put them through, and they lost like $25,000, which would put them in the negative. The thing is with this is a lot of these districts, not Hudson per se, but like I'm going to use Wyndham specifically and Epping, their fund balances have been able to sustain them throughout. So like while yes, they will end this year with a deficit, they're not going to have a negative fund balance overall because they've had very fulfilling ones this whole time.
Do you have a total picture of the fiscal year revenue from last year to this year?
Not in front of me.
Not in front of me, right? But I'm just interested, right? I mean, obviously we have cost increases
Yep.
every year, right?
Yep.
You've mentioned and highlighted all the good work of the a la carte menu and the additional revenue that's bringing in, right? Obviously coupling that with your cost increases, I'm curious, and to maintain really or projecting a level deficit, are we increasing services but maintaining the same deficit? Or is it a story of, geez, our revenues are going up, or are they going down? Like, where's the picture of revenue in
Right.
all this?
The revenues are going down a bit, I mean, but
Yeah, in terms of like reimbursement rates and stuff, or not rates, but like the reimbursement we're getting, I am seeing it trending down a little bit, but it's not, like I said, it's nothing, but our a la carte, like I said, is going up. So it just depends on which facet, I think, of the program. I can pull
I
that
think
in.
it's simple as math, if I'm understanding your
That's
question
what I'm-
correctly.
yeah.
Sorry.
Like,
No, that's fine.
yeah, but this is how I view it, right? And
That's-
jump in. Like, we negotiated new contracts with support staff. It was approximately a 4% increase on their salaries, right? So just to maintain the same deficit, we need to increase our revenue by 4%, right?
Or cut other.
Or cut our revenues. But we were in a default, which put it right back to where it was the year before, right? So for that math to have a deficit that's approximately the same, knowing that our expenses, which the labor expenses go, they're not at the mercy of the default, right? They legitimately went up 4%. We're using approximations. That means our revenue probably had to also increase by about
And
4%.
was that 4% increase because of a la carte? Or
I think it's more driven by a la carte
But it's
because we
gotta be
did
driven by
see the
what we're doing, 'cause
decrease.
We know it's not from.
Yeah,
money
because
we're getting
we
in.
did see that slight decrease in the reimbursement meals, and that's the revenue that comes from federal grants and
Federal,
reimbursement
state,
stuff
and
like that.
federal and state money, yes.
So I think
Have the
there's
food
positive
costs gone up
things.
dramatically?
Right.
Yes, we are part of the New Hampshire buying group, so the bid prices are very much locked in, but there are still exceptions where produce specifically right now, produce is a nightmare right now to deal with, I'll be very honest. A 25-pound thing of tomatoes is $90, so I'm not buying tomatoes. I did allocate a lot of our commodity money into our favors, which is fresh produce. That list is very limited, and that's the only way I'm buying tomatoes because we have the money allocated for it. But you're looking at only 5 pounds versus 25 pounds. So, and the only saving grace is that's at the end of the school year. There's also we have a whole part of our program that's called Buy American, which is it's supposed to promote purchasing, local produce, not local, but like, U.S. produce. Domestic is the word I'm thinking of. And this year they've put a cap on non-domestic items. It's 10% of your total food budget you can spend on non-domestic items, and that's really limited us as well because while New Hampshire's great for like apples, that's about all we got is apples and oranges. So bananas and pineapples and things, I've had to really watch what I'm buying, even though those would be cheaper. So right now, produce is a big concern of mine that I'm watching very carefully. Again, thankfully, we're at the end of the year where like if we kind of phase something out, it's not going to be a desperate like big disruption. But in terms of like going forward next year and beyond, with the MAHA movement, they want us to double our protein servings, which is great, but that doubles our food cost, and they're not proposing any increase in reimbursement rates. So we're in a lose-lose. Here's the rock in the hard place, and we're just getting,
No, I don't know if we're in I understand what you're saying.
from that point, I feel like we're in a lose-lose.
Negative on yourself, right? Like we
Oh.
have seen some of the initiatives that we've done. You highlighted them at the beginning.
Sure.
Some of the initiatives that you've undertaken and how they have increased revenue in areas where we have control, right?
Yes.
Like the vending machine is an area we have control, right? The a la carte menus is stuff we have control over. And we've made positive progress in that. And it's going to be slow, but it's going to be systematic. And we're going to have to chunk at it little by little by little. Matt's favorite topic, I don't want to get too far in the weeds on it, is
Here comes the cafe.
is the cafe.
Here comes
We do
the
not need to get
cafe.
into all details, but steps behind the scenes are being taken to do that idea, which will, we anticipate being very helpful to the bottom line for the high school and stuff like that. So we are taking those steps, and I think that is positive work you've done this year.
Oh, it's
with
so
those
hard to not take it
people.
all personally. So
Well, and you're gonna experiment, right? Like, and
Yeah.
like the pumpkin bread was a byproduct of you having a lot of the pumpkin at the time, right?
yeah,
And it like dawned on us like, oh wait, there's something here, right? So I think building on those type of ideas that kind of unfold.
And it's the creativity behind it.
Yes.
I'm trying so hard, you guys.
Yeah.
Trying
I
so
mean, you
hard.
don't. At least I can speak for myself. And I think the rest of the board probably would agree with me. Like I don't. There are so many things that are outside of your control. Our
Correct.
control, and I really feel like you're doing everything you possibly can to control all of the things you can. And I think you're doing an excellent job.
I appreciate that.
I
Yeah.
mean, just put it in perspective for people, because I think, you know, rightfully, like, I'm not disparaging anyone who don't think of it in this context, but think about you going to buy like a sub at like Kale's or something like that. Like, it's costing you like 15, 16, 20 bucks now.
Yes, it is.
Right?
I've been there
And,
recently.
yeah. And that's because, and like, they need to charge that because of the cost of the food, the cost of their labor, right? And for our food service employees, right, we have to be competitive with the food service industry, not necessarily exclusively food service in schools. We need to be competitive with food service in general, right? So if you look at what we're up against, it's not just like, hey, we need to make sure our pay rate is the same as schools. No, it has to be the same as Subway. It has to be the same as restaurants. It has to be the same. And they're paying people a lot of money. So we have to kind of mirror that. We have a great team here who are invested in our kids. They could probably take their skill set and make a lot more money doing what they do, you know, but they care about our kids. Many of them live in our community, right? But we can get away like $4.25 for lunch. Like, where if you're gonna go buy that out, like you're spending $15 for same amount of food out in a restaurant. You know, we got to keep that in perspective when we look at this. So.
Yeah. And I get in the weeds, and I know I take things. I hate this borderline. I love coming and talking to you all. Don't get me. That's not the problem. But like, just the knowing that it's going to come to this is so. It's so disheartening, even though.
I think the superintendent's right? I
Yeah.
think the story and the revenue question was really, you know, to maintain a deficit flat, I think is a positive story, actually.
Great. Okay, I appreciate that.
No, it is, right? Because our costs are increasing. We all know that.
Yes.
Right? That's not.
What, they
lost on-
are?
lost
What?
On, lost on any of us,
Oh
right?
my- oh
And
my.
I think it speaks to the success of the creativity of you and your staff,
appreciate
right?
that.
And the hard work of everyone in your department, and the creativity of the a la carte menus, right? And the continued services of your catering, right? That is what is
Yeah.
allowing us to keep this deficit flat. So-
I appreciate
and
that. Thank you. I
is what
appreciate that.
appreciate.
I appreciate that very much. And I will say, just off the topic, off record, I tell people how grateful I am for. Sorry, Ray, you're not here, but the four of you sitting in this room right now, Ray, you too.
Leave 'em
You're-
out.
But I tell people this amount of support I have from my board and my community, and people like jaws drop. So I know, I recognize that I have a very good situation here, and I appreciate those words back, because like I said, it's hard to not take it personally, but I know it's nothing I'm doing. I'm doing everything I can, so it's just disappointing. I would love it to be perfect and everything's great, but that's not life.
If you walked in here and all of them were in the black, I would take that personally. I
Yeah.
don't think, you know.
Yeah,
there's
a
only so
lot
much
of them.
in your control, and quite frankly, it's not an easy task to sit here and try to solve problems that are being created at a much higher level that we can't control. So, I appreciate the efforts you put into that.
I
because
appreciate
it is
that.
disheartening to try to do all that work and then see
Yes.
a red number. But look, I mean, I think Andrew's point is spot on. You really have to dig into where the successes are happening. There are successes that are happening.
That's where I try to pull from. Yeah. There is success. There have been really good things. Myself and my crew have been working our tails off this year. Like, we have been working really hard to make sure, and like, not all of our initiatives work. I tried the hot chocolate program, and my GMS lead was like, don't do that again. That was a nightmare. I was like, okay, so we won't do that again. Like, But I also appreciate that my staff can come to me and be like,
Sure,
what
the
are you
teachers love that,
thinking?
too.
It was a lot more colorful. And I was like, listen, that's fine. If it's not going to work, we'll figure something out. But at least like the high school iced coffee is going really, really well. And I mean, I'd argue most of it is, SAU related as well, because we have our little crew that goes down every day and buys
Maybe
coffee.
the administrative
and-
staff.
We do our.
yeah, it's lunch and coffee time, and we all go down. But as of April 30th, we were at 495 iced coffees sold on the year so far, and for a school of 300-ish, 350, let's say, kids, I think that's a pretty solid. Plus, it was really cold this winter, so I anticipate that to come back up, and it just inspires me to keep doing more. So here's some highlights. Let's end on a good note, guys. We went through the tough stuff. I'm really excited and very, very thrilled that some of my our new meals that came out. I found the egg roll in a bowl, which if you talk to me, you know I'm obsessed with. I found that on TikTok over the summer, and I went, every kid would love this. And every kid has loved it. We fed it to Governor Ayotte and Commissioner Davis when they came to visit. Egg roll in a bowl is, Rocco?
It's pretty good.
Egg roll in a bowl is one of, and I make it literally like at least twice a week at home. It's so easy and it's so delicious, and it's very much, it's gone really, really well. Another one that went really well that I just sampled, and I was like, we'll try it, because our National School Lunch Week theme was school nutrition is your passport, and it was a world of different flavors. I became the Customs and Immigration Center for the district and stamped passports for the elementary kids literally all week that week. That was super fun. But we tried chicken tikka masala, which is an Indian dish, up in the high school, and I was kind of blown away with how many kids were like, I love this. I'm so excited you're offering it. So we have it with our whole grain naan bread, and we make our chicken tikka sauce from scratch. We make it because the manufacturer, who happens to be a friend of mine, but she was like, we ran out for National School Lunch Week. I'm like, well, I know how to make it, so we make it from scratch now, and the whole place just smells amazing. We had for National School Breakfast Week, we did a sausage patty and cheese sandwich that's a maple infused flatbread that goes over really, really well with the kids. It kind of has that sweet and savory. We did add the little extra maple on the side. This big giant parfait in the middle is a dragon fruit parfait, because the theme for Breakfast Week was the quest for school breakfast. So you think medieval, you think dragons and princes and princesses. So we had dragon fruit parfaits. And then I was under the impression when we made Cubans one time that we didn't have any pork, so I bought a real big old pork loin, and then my staff went, no, we have that. So we threw it in the freezer, and we did a slow roasted Cuban style pork with roasted butternut squash and mashed potatoes. That was delicious. So that was really cool. And again, my lead at the high school, she's new this year too, and she's done a phenomenal job. Her food comes out great. And so those are some of the new dishes we did. Also, to highlight, obviously we catered for Governor Ayotte. Thanks, Brian, because that was on a whim, and I was like, 100% I'm going to cater for the governor. And I didn't get any. I was so horrible the day Maggie Hassan came. I didn't get any photos, but I stole that from the video that Jen posted on Facebook. So there's Maggie Hassan visiting our middle school cafeteria. That was a really great positive visit. When I go to DC and I have these meetings with our senators and our people, here we are, yay. You only get a couple minutes of FaceTime. I had a solid half hour, 45 minutes of FaceTime with the senator to talk all things school nutrition, all things like, we had literally just covered a month prior in DC regarding, the new dietary guidelines for Americans, which will cause our program to have regulation changes, and just all sorts of like the definition of ultra processed foods. I won't go into it because we don't have a lot of time, and I could talk for hours about it. I've really found, to move on to this, obviously we have this. I've found a real love for advocacy, which is something I would have never thought I would have said. So obviously went down to DC this year again as the SNA president chapter, New Hampshire chapter president. So I'm president this year and next year. So I went down with my colleague Dave there from Merrimack, and he's retiring this year. After I finish my presidency, I will be moving into public policy, and really, I think we can do a lot more in terms of nationally, but I think as well, like the state level, I think we can do a lot of, I just want to do best for the state. I was also very fortunate we're going to brag about myself now. Sorry, everybody. I was very fortunate to be selected, and I didn't even realize I did this. I apparently ticked a box that was like, sure, I'll do the executive leadership program. And I got selected randomly. So that's our cohort. We had a whole day at, oh my God, where did I go? Georgetown University. Oh my God. And we had we had two big giant sessions. One of their professors talked about emotional intelligence and leadership. And then the second one was one of their professors that talked about like the impact that like long-term stress has on your body and your mental health and stuff. It was a fantastic day with like almost 60 of my closest nutrition friends from all over the country. I got asked to speak at a national conference this past couple weeks ago, so that was exciting. And now I really want to do keynote speaking, which is probably not surprising to a lot of people. I like to talk. And that was a hear from your peers session. So it was myself and the Vermont SNA president. And it was at the national conference for leadership and we smashed it. Honestly, it was great. And the last thing before I turn it over for any questions or whatever, very excited to announce that on August 19th this year, our state conference is actually going to be held at Campbell High School. And I'm really excited about it because we have a national keynote speaker coming down. This is all for SNA New Hampshire. So if you're around August 19th and want to pop in and check out what work I'm doing related but not related to school nutrition and what I'm doing for the state and what my team and I are doing for the state, please feel free to stop in. It's going to be a fantastic conference, and I'm catering for that too. So I'm really, really excited about that. So those are most of the product updates. Yeah, okay. That was the, there we go.
Can I be critical for a moment?
You can be critical for a
A
moment.
lot about food and we're all hungry.
I know. I was like, I didn't bring any samples. I'm the worst. Fired.
Ordering
Get out.
snacks, remember?
Remember how nice we were all being to me 5 minutes ago? We're just going to go.
Very thorough update. Thank you very much. Any questions from the board?
What time is that on the 19th, do you know?
It's going to run all day. So it's like 8:30 to, I think it starts at 8:30 and it'll run till about 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Good speaker.
Yeah, his name is Joe Pettit. If you have a chance to check him out online, his whole thing is called Seeds to Success, and he talks about like it's a lot of gardening metaphors because you can't have the gorgeous garden without doing the work in the dirt, and leadership and working, in teams and stuff is very similar. And he's giving it. Granted, it's not through the district, so he's giving us a 2-hour keynote, and he's fantastic. He's a nationally recognized speaker. He's amazing. So very excited about that. Any questions? I'll bring samples next time.
That was going to be my
I
question.
appreciate the entire team. Thank
I
you very
appreciate
much.
all of you genuinely. Like, I know how good I have it here, so
All right.
it's thanks to the 4 of you. Sorry, Ray, you're not here. You're not here. Sorry, Ray, but no, I appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night. Thank you.
I did get an update from Mr. Peoples. While
Oh,
he was
yes,
presenting
okay.
That he's not able to make it. Something
Okay.
came up, so.
Great. Thank you for that heads up. All right, switching gears into our student representative report, we're going to welcome Rocco tonight.
Oops, let me get it up for you, Rocco. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
All right. So, I'm Rocco DeLucia. I'm a junior at Campbell High School. I'm just going to go through some of the stuff that's happening. Right now at Campbell for our spring sports, we have the girls lacrosse team standing 2-2. Their next game was supposed to be tonight, but I believe it got canceled. The boys lacrosse team is 3-3 with their next game against Conval today. And then softball is 1-7, and their next game's tomorrow. Baseball's 5-2, and they have their upcoming game versus Raymond. And then track is doing really well. They've had 6 meets so far, and a couple school record attempts. And then next slide. For past events that we've had recently, We had the SATs for April 15th. I had to take that myself, and I think they went really well. Yeah. And then on the 17th, there was the Music All-State Classical Festival. On the 22nd, there was the Spain Info Trip meeting. And the 24th was the blood drive. I was actually like at the table helping people check in, and then like halfway through I wanted to find out my blood type, so I went and got my blood done. Found out I was A positive.
There you go.
And then on the 23rd, was the National Honor Society Bingo Night. That also went really well. Oh wait, mine hasn't updated yet. Sorry. I don't have all the bullet points. So yeah, we had the bingo night.
You're doing
That-
good. You're good. Don't worry.
My
You're filling
iPad
in.
doesn't
You're doing
do
great.
well without Wi-Fi, but the National Honor Society Bingo Night, that went really well. I'm in NHS, but I wasn't able to be there. But I heard there was a really good turnout. Everyone that did come had a lot of fun. We did well with like advertising, all things like that. And then on the 25th, start of break, there was the Spain trip, which a lot of people I heard had fun at. I talked to some of my friends, and they had a lot of really nice pictures from the event. On the next slide, there was yesterday the spring athletic photos, as well as today there was the Driving Towards Zero presentation. So it was a big presentation about just like the safety of driving, the dangers of it. It went into like a lot of depth, and definitely like it kind of scared the kids, because that's kind of what you wanted to do. It's like you want to like let them know that it is an actually scary thing. But starting yesterday, AP testing started. I actually took the first test. It was AP Gov. It went really well as well. I mean, I went into it really scary, but it was fine. On May 8th, so this Friday, we have our prom.
There you go.
That's really nerve-wracking because me and my friend Taylor are planning the whole thing by ourselves.
Right, because juniors plan it for seniors, right?
Yes, and we had a very, very small committee this year. I even had to open it up to the senior grade just so like they couldn't blame us if they didn't like the prom, but they won't have to because
Sky Battle this year?
it is, yeah.
Okay.
It's going really well. We have like a Roaring Masquerade theme, so we have some purple, gold, green, black colors, and some nice centerpieces. We'll have plenty of pictures of that at the next meeting, I bet. Then on the 11th, or like right now through the 11th, we have the National English Honor Society book drive. We started the National English Honor Society this year. I'm helping to start it up, but we're having our first fundraisers like a book drive. We just have some baskets in each like English room, in every English room's classroom, and kids can just donate books, and we'll put that towards a better cause. And then on the 16th, we will be having our clothing drive, which we have annually. I should be at that, and we basically just like have all people drop off big bags, trash bags of stuff, a bunch of clothes that we can just donate. And then on the 21st is the senior project evaluations.
I feel like there's a fashion show sometime soon.
Yeah. So on the 17th, that's not added in here yet, but the junior class is also hosting a fashion show, which I'm helping plan with that as well. And basically, we've had a fashion show in previous years, but this year the junior class reached out to Miss Gaspar asking if we could help her plan it and use it as a fundraiser for our class. So in response to that, she said yes. We've gotten like 10, 15 plus businesses to like donate money to us, and then we put their like businesses in our advertisements and like pamphlets we fill out. We've made probably around like $600 to $800 in that. And then we also are working with like David's Bridal. They're donating 25 dresses to our models.
Wow.
Wow, that's great.
And
Yeah.
what's the fundraising purpose?
It's just to the grade, like the junior class as a whole, because like next year we have senior activities.
Oh, sure.
So definitely need to get money so we don't have to like charge the graduating class like a bunch of money to do their own activities that they've like worked all these 4 years for.
Really glad the junior class brought this idea back, because a lot of schools do something similar. They timing wise, we got to do it post prom, but usually the idea is you do a pre-prom as like the lead into it with the dresses and the suits and like everything like
Yeah,
that.
I actually was gonna add that we renamed it this year as like a post prom fashion show. So because I just like recognize that like so many girls spend like $400 on their dresses that they wear one time.
Probably an understatement.
And I'm like, I bet if they're gonna spend that much money on their dresses, they'd probably be like proud of wearing it, like think it's beautiful. Maybe they'd want to wear it at a fashion show. So we're calling it the post prom fashion show because people can wear their prom outfits, their prom tuxes and dresses. We have casual wear sections, but then we also have David's Bridal to provide us with dresses. And then for our future events that we have going on the 27th, we have the Academic Excellence Banquet, as well as on the 26th, we have the start of Spring Fest and the 8th grade Step Up Day, which Stuco's planning, and it's going really well so far. On the 28th, we have the CHS Music Awards, and on June 1st, we have the Senior Dinner and Cruise. And on June 8th is Finals Week.
For that step up day, right? One of the board goals for many years has always been transitions, right? So what is different, or what is the focus of that day from 8th into?
I don't know if I could answer this one off the top of my head. I'm not involved in the planning on that one.
We
so.
can do that. As
I can come back to that next meeting. Then. I can
Right.
report out a little bit on it. Yeah.
And then moving on to LMS. LMS baseball is 3-1 so far, and softball's 5-0. The boys lacrosse team is 2-1, and the girls lacrosse team is 0-4. But the LMS track team has done great this season, and they've had a lot of individual wins. For this week, the NH SAS testing started, and the students in grades 5 through 8 are started by taking like the writing test. All students received breakfast served by the admin and the lunch team, and there were class meetings held on Monday with every grade that shared incentives for personal improvement to kind of boost those test scores. Every student who improved their overall score in each content area will be able to silly string Miss Grantham and Mr. Peterson in June. And then every student who improves their personal proficiency score, like from a 1 to a 2 or a 3 to a 4, or stays at a 4, will receive an ice cream sundae party. I know that these definitely worked for like the state science testing that the juniors had this year when we
we'll
were
get
told
to
that we
that.
didn't have to take our
We're gonna
finals.
talk about that for sure.
Yeah, I was
wait.
All about this.
I was sweating going into that, but I got a 3, so I do not have to take my honors anatomy final, which made me
Thank you.
very happy.
Good job.
Yeah. Next, we have looking into the future. So throughout like the next 2 weeks, we're gonna have like all of the testing. There's both of the readings and math for all grade levels. There's also the start of field trips. So 7th grade is gonna go to the Stone Zoo. 8th grade is gonna go on their Boston Freedom Trail, and 5th grade is gonna go to the Hidden Creek Golf Course.
Hey, can I chaperone that one and bring my clubs?
Come on over. I'm sure they'd love to have you. It's actually it's a donation, and it's going to be really interesting. They're doing physics
Oh, nice.
Okay. All right.
with golf.
Is grade 8 actually happening?
Would you like me to talk about that
We can talk about it in a little bit.
Yep.
Okay.
Hold on, go back real quick. And then next is the iReady testing. That starts on May 26th through the 29th. It's both reading and math. And then for 8th grade events, on the 29th, they have their grad dance. And on the 11th is their promotion ceremony. There's also their LMS field day on the 25th, or on the 5th of June. And the last day of school is on the 12th. There will be early release.
Here we go.
For GMS, on Friday, the 24th of April, they had their first ever wellness day. The students were able to participate in a variety of physical activities.
It was really, really cute. Sarah and I went down there to check it out, and the kids were all too happy to tell us everything they were doing.
there were so many different activities happening. So it's really cool to see this idea trickle down through, because it's a great experience for them. They get to do some different things.
Sounds fun. And then the PTO Sweetheart Dance is Friday, May 8th, so same as prom, but I don't know if they'll be able to compete. The third grade has the Acton Museum coming up to present on the 13th, and the end of year Tiber Tribe celebration.
Tiger.
It's Tiger.
I know it's written
That's
Tiber.
Okay.
yeah.
The Tiger Tribe celebration is Thursday, May 14th. Our chorus spring concert is also the 14th, later in the night. And then the orientation for the incoming kindergartners will be on April 15th.
May 15th.
At
Yeah, that's
It's
me.
May 15th.
May
Yeah.
15th at 9 or 12. And it also means no school for the current kindergartners. And that's all of the current updates.
Rocco, let me ask you a question back on SATs.
Yeah.
All right, so what does it mean to take high stakes testing to you, and what have you learned this year on high stakes testing?
I've definitely done like a lot of research on how to make sure like I'm taking it properly. Going into it, I'm like, God, like I need to hurry up. Like I don't have a lot of time on this, but I found ways to prepare, because there's a lot of stuff that like I didn't necessarily know unless I would have researched it myself. Like for the math section, you're allowed like Desmos that's added onto it. And for almost all of their questions, they have like a heavy portion of constant questions. You can plug practically every single one of those equations right into Desmos, and it just feeds you the answer as long as you know how to use the program. So there's definitely ways to make it work. I think another thing that like gets a little like anticipating about it is that we had to wait like a month to get the scores. So actually on the 14th is when we'll be receiving our scores. I think I did pretty well, but also I know that you can like retake the SAT at other schools. So I think like now that the first time I've taken it, I understand like the flow of it, how it goes, and also like the right way to use like the calculators on certain sections. I'll probably end up like going to other schools and retaking it and either like super score and stuff like that.
And one follow up, did you feel like the PSATs prepared you for SATs?
I think it did. I know that my freshman year I didn't take it too seriously because I was like, what's the point of this if it like doesn't actually count? But last year I definitely tried, and same with this year, because like I wanted to try to beat my score from previous years. So I like created like a competitive aspect for myself.
Excellent. Thank
Yeah.
you for that.
So your motivation was to beat your scores from prior years? Like, is that what motivated you the most with that?
Yeah.
Or-
There was like a combination, because I definitely wanted to beat my past scores, but I also wanted to like kind of break like the regular like scores that people get on the test, so it can kind of like stand out, and I'm like able to put it on like college applications, because I know some people, if they don't score too well but schools look for a certain number, they like won't put it on, and schools like won't really penalize you for it, but like they can still see that like, oh, like why didn't this person add their score, like they must have not scored well if they don't feel comfortable sharing. Yeah.
Well, since we're going down the road and you seem to be a willing answerer of these
I take the opportunity, right?
yeah, right. Do you think having the midterms back this year helped?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely put together everything that we've done all semester. Like I know that I'm in honors pre-calc, and before midterms we were like handed a packet of like reviews, so like stuff we've covered all year, and I was like, wow, like we covered a lot of stuff. But it also just helped like resurface all those things that we did like to my mind, and it helped me like make sure like I have to focus this semester, because I know that like I'm gonna have everything from last semester and this semester on my pre-calc midterms. So it definitely like made me more engaged, because I knew it would like I was gonna have like a tracker on me, making sure that I actually followed through with everything.
So
So you took AP Gov, right, that exam. And then compare and contrast, I guess we're really doing this. So compare and contrast SAT, which is kind of like, here's a day, you're going to take this, you don't necessarily know what's on it, versus your AP exam, which I'm hoping you had maybe don't know the exact questions, but you have a better understanding of what that's gonna look like. Does that make a difference to you? Like, how is the testing for both of those?
There's
compared?
a little bit of a difference, which some of it might be my fault. In AP Classroom, you can take practice exams of the SATs, but also all your courses. I took a lot of practice exams for AP Gov. And also I think government's more of a strong suit for me because of like other stuff that I do. I just have kind of a mind for it. But going into it, I had done so much studying and practice exams with my friends that like everything in there was kind of just like a breeze. They also gave us a significant amount of time. For the multiple choice questions, I think everyone in there had a good like 20 minutes left over waiting for the section to end. And then for the FRQs, like the free response, everyone had like 50 minutes left over. Like even online I was looking and people were talking like they were taking naps in the classroom because of how long the testing time they actually gave you was. So it was less rushed, with which I guess like took a little stress off. I didn't take any practice tests for the SAT, so it was a little different. And then like I feel like it covers way more of like a vast, like it just covers like all types of math and all types of English, so it was like a little more difficult to prepare for, but it was still something that like I tried very hard on.
Yeah, awesome.
Hopefully we can probe, well, I mean, not right now, but hopefully we could probe a little bit more, hearing the aspect about the prep and some of the independent research that went into it. I'm
Agreed.
wondering if we can,
Yeah.
present more without, I mean, you obviously have, a good desire to go seek these things out yourself, but
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure you are.
I already picked up on that. And we already started doing some of those
Yeah,
conversations
they introduced that
and
more this year.
PLCs and all that kind of stuff. And there's been a lot more kind of, the assessment culture is definitely starting to shift in the positive direction, which was a goal starting
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
last year. So we're starting to see some benefits of that,
Yeah.
which has been amazing. Thank you for that feedback. That was great.
Any other questions for Rocco this evening?
No, great job though.
Rocco,
Great job,
Very
Rocco.
professional
Very
presentation
thorough.
tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to leave and enjoy the rest of your evening. Up to you.
I will be heading out. Thank you guys so much. It was great to hear everything.
Bye. Thank you,
Awesome,
Rocco.
thank you.
Thank you all.
And with that, we have our first community comment on agenda items. This is the first of two community comments. Seeing nobody rushing up to the mic, we'll close this one. And again, there's a second opportunity a little bit later this evening. And we'll shift gears into correspondence.
Okay, on April 19th, Mr. Oblinas made a request to post the GMS forum online. Mr. Cutter responded. On the 20th, Mr. Oblinas provided some positive feedback regarding the topic of the discussion of the insurance situation. On the 21st, Ian sent out a request for signatures for manifests so bills would get paid on time. I think pretty much everybody responded and we got those signed. Also on the 21st, there were two AP manifests on the 21st, there were two payroll manifests on the 21st. On May 1st, Andrew, I don't know if this needs to be on this, but I'm going to say it anyway, had some clarifying questions on the manifests, to which Ann responded. On the May 1st, we got the agenda for tonight's meeting. On May the 2nd, Ms. Farrow sent an email to the board regarding her concerns with changes in the health insurance. And then May 5th, another 403B manifest, and then today, a credit card manifest from Ms. Anna Moratti.
All right, thank you very much. Any other correspondence to highlight from board members? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move into general business this evening. We don't have Mr. Peoples, as mentioned, so we'll skip over legislative update tonight unless there's
Well, I'll
something to
give
share.
two brief ones on that.
Sure, okay.
I think since we last met, they voted on open enrollment and it did not move forward. I think it went to like one of those conference things. It didn't pass, right? So it went to, Ray knows all the terms, but one of those conference type of things, which means I mean, that has changed a lot, so who knows? But like, it's likely not gonna pass. There's gonna be no changes to open enrollment for next school year at this point, right? So we're kind of status quo on that. Now, anything can change from a legislative perspective, but based upon where that was, we don't anticipate any changes for 26-27 school year in terms of open enrollment.
Okay.
Next thing, there was just put awareness, there was an article in the Union Leader today. I just read it quickly, so I don't have a lot of in-depth feelings on it yet, but it talked about a statewide vote on a tax cap for school expenditures. So just, it might be something the board wants to just read up a little bit. I know myself, I'm gonna read up a little bit more on it, to get a better understanding of what that proposed, bill entails and stuff like that. So,
NHSBA has been sending out some updates on that as well.
yeah, so, that's it, FYI, so.
Thank you. Back to you for your report.
Yeah, if it's okay, I'm gonna move something up from Sarah's section
Oh, sure.
right now, because Ms. Kramer is here. I don't want to keep her too late. She's already stayed for quite a bit. But they have a new course that at LMS they would like to run, intervention style course that they want to run next year. So I'm gonna ask them to come up and talk about it. You want me to put it up on the screen?
You can.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. So I brought with me this evening Kate Kramer, reading specialist extraordinaire and wearer of many hats at LMS.
Definitely an extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire.
She is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
that's
Also serving breakfast this morning?
Yes, she was.
It's the best duty, don't tell anybody.
So we've been talking for years, looking at data, looking at where our students were performing. In my 5 years here, it's been a focus of our school. And one of the things that we talk about is our tiers of instruction. And we've talked here about Tier 3 being our most intensive needs students, Tier 2 being our students who are still struggling, and then Tier 1 being our instruction that goes to all students. We have really decided in the past several years to focus our attention in on Tier 1 instruction, to make sure that we're improving the quality of the everybody gets instruction, because we saw deficits and we saw holes based on the data that we had seen and presented towards us. So Ms. Kramer has been remarkable in helping with our vertical team meetings, in helping to really help facilitate conversations, looking at the data and seeing where we are. However, we still recognize that there's a problem here in Litchfield, that it is either you're in the Tier 1 instruction zone for middle school or you go to special ed. When you go from there isn't a middle ground, right? And that shouldn't be the way it is, and it hasn't been the way it is in any other district I've ever worked in my life. So we have had a lot of brainstorming sessions about what could it look like? How do we get that extra instruction in for those kids who aren't special education, but still are showing those deficits through either New Hampshire SAS data or iReady data, or a combination of New Hampshire SAS, iReady, and teacher observation. So Kate and I kind of talked a little bit about creating this program. Do you want to talk at all about your fantastic class?
Sure. So this class is called Mastering the Page, and really it's designed for those kids in that Tier 2 pocket. So when I think about Tier 2 instruction, I think about it like kind of like SAS. So SAS has 4 levels. Level 1 is below grade level, level 2 is approaching, level 3 you're on grade level, level 4 you're above. So to me, it's really targeting those level 2 kiddos and pushing them from approaching proficient into that proficient zone. And I would like to do this through examining informational text and vocabulary. Everybody can learn to do this. Some kids might just need a little more instruction, a little more help, a little more direct teaching on that matter. And I think it's really important too to be using both qualitative and quantitative data, because not everyone is a great test taker. Not everyone does well taking a test on a computer. How are they performing in class? And that teacher observation piece too. I am the vertical lead for the ELA team, and we work very cohesively to track that progress, like from grade to grade, and who needs what and who's performing. I think that this course will also help route certain students the special education route, and help other students kind of not go that route, because they're going to get what they need, and then they can just be hopefully level 3 proficient moving forward. Do you have any questions on that?
So I just want to interject for a quick second of when is this going to happen? Because really it's about the number of minutes and hours that we have in a day. We know that our students require math, language arts, science, and social studies as their 4 core classes. That can't change. And we don't want to take them out of their language arts class that's happening here because these are the kids that need more than what they're getting. So when can this happen in the school day? This would be a 1/4 class that would be happening when unified arts are happening. So kids would have, for next year, we're talking about shifting how unified arts are being offered to be 4/4 classes. So even classes like sustainability or computer science, which have been semester classes, would go down to 1/4 so that kids have that opportunity to get more classes in. And we have the idea of including this as one of those rotations for a kid in a year. So, for example, if it was Mr. Peterson, who's back here, and I'm going to say let's say he's a 6th grade student, and we recognize that he has some challenges that he needs additional support in the 8 opportunities he has for unified arts, he would have 1 in mastering the page to focus in on that vocabulary and informational text to get that boost for him. So he's not stuck in mastering the page for 4/4 of the year and can't have unified arts for the rest of the year, because we do believe we want to produce highly qualified, well-rounded individuals who have access to the things that they need to have. And what we're recognizing is there are many of our students who need this additional support in reading. Ms. Kramer, when I came, reading specialist, if you looked just in Power School, you would see, they have a caseload of 5 or 12 because they were solely focused on our Tier 3 instruction. We've spent a lot of time getting our special educators up to speed on providing that Tier 3 instruction for our special education students, which frees Ms. Kramer up to be able to support that level of students to get them to proficient, which is our goal overall as a district for our students.
And that length of time falls right into the MTSS model with how much time you want to do a level 2 support and then move on. Because if they're not responding in that time, then it's time to have different conversations. If they are responding, then you're like, oh great, they're responding, so we don't need more intensive.
So you were just like reading my face as I was listening, because my question was going to be, is 1/4 enough?
Yes.
And what you're saying is
Yep.
that's the perfect amount of time.
It should be. And then if we're seeing students then go back and they're falling, then it might be another conversation of, do they need another round later? But typically at that point, you have a real conversation in, is this working? Are they responding, or are they not?
So we wouldn't have a situation where a student would be Q1, Q2.
I don't
You,
think that
you really,
is-
you really shouldn't.
You shouldn't
And
have
so
that.
Or
Yeah.
Q1, Q3.
you really shouldn't.
You should. It
and I
should
think
be they're
Need that level of
responding.
support, we should be looking at special education.
Correct. If they're not responding,
What about Q1, grade 5, Q2, grade 6?
That is possible. That's possible because
the level of
the level
complexity
of
goes up.
complexity goes up as you go from year to year. One of the things that we spend a lot of time focusing on when you look at our incentives for our SAS model, it's not just the number, because the quantile number that the kids can score or the Lexile number that the kids can score on SAS. So let's talk proficiency rating. When you look at a student I'm going to throw out a random number. This is not the right number because I don't have the chart in front of me, but let's say Matt comes in and he scores a 520 in 5th grade in language arts. That's a level 3 in 5th grade. He goes to grade 6 and he scores a 590, but that's a level 2 in 6th grade because the bar moves. In addition to the number moving, that bar moves as well. So because the difficulty level increases as they go from grade to grade, there's a possibility they might need mastering the page or something like it. It might not be on vocabulary and informational text. Maybe it's a literature focus. Maybe it's another focus as we go.
Another question
From
then,
year
right?
to year.
As of now, right, how many students would fit into this tier 2?
A fair bit.
Right.
Based on the data that we have. And this is one of the things that, dreams and pipe dreams, it's about people, it's about people and who we have in front of us to help to offer these services.
Well, that's where I'm going.
Yep.
Right? And so now you have probably a large percentage of students that would benefit from this program, right? And it's being offered for all grades, but yet you're one person,
1.5.
1.5, right?
She's really skilled now.
Right, so I'm just questioning, like, how do you select kids across 4 grades that are eligible for 1 quarter?
So we were having a lengthy conversation about this actually this afternoon, in talking about what could this look like and when would be appropriate to offer it. So thinking about the transition from 4th to 5th grade and knowing how difficult it is for those kids coming from 4th to 5th grade, we probably wouldn't put them in Mastering the Page in quarter 1 because we would want to get to know them and get to know how they're functioning, benchmark them, see how they're going. And
I think thinking about kids like that too, when I see those lower kids on iReady, I go through and I say, okay, well, who's identified in special education? Okay, this kid isn't. And I grab them and I hear them read, I see them write, I go through other informal measures, and that kind of helps me route what's needed as well.
so I think the critical component to this is we're talking about people. And again, I'm going to say this is a reading focus, but there could be a math focus at some time in the near future as well.
I will not be doing that one.
What?
I know, I've asked that well, you brought it up, so I'm gonna say, I'm
Yeah.
gonna derail it and ask it. I think the natural next question is like, hey, our reading scores aren't that bad. Math, on the other hand, like, we
The
could
hard
really.
part about math is finding the people to,
And that's
to
the
provide
second,
that.
the answer to
The
this, 'cause
state has in the last few years they've done now a math specialist endorsement,
Let's stay on
which is
topic.
great,
Let's
but
table
we
it.
don't have it. There's just we don't.
I
have
could
people.
keep talking about what
Yeah.
I visualize, but what we have discussed is it's important because Mrs. Kramer has done such an incredible job of leveraging that great conversation of tier 1 and that deep tier 1 instruction, that our reading and language arts focus doesn't just happen in language arts, it's happening in social studies, it's happening in science, it's happening across the board. We're hoping that this is going to be that quick hit that's going to help those kids that are at that approaching level really, talk about bumping them to that next category and not making this her only focus, because she's great at being the jack of all trades, and
I do like that, yes.
she likes to continue those important tier 1 conversations. So she wouldn't have a course load that is, 4 classes every day of this for the whole year, because then how would we be able to continue that growth of that tier 1 instruction and the other conversations that's important she's leading. We're lucky that we have a full-time reading specialist and appreciate your support in that. Plus we have a half-time reading specialist who's there. So we would see the two of them working together to fill that schedule and continue to support, because part of what they do to support is supporting those kids who are on a 504 or have other additional needs based on that
I'm still
Still
instruction.
not clear though on the question, right? The question was like, how do you select kids specifically for quarter 1, quarter 2
Yep.
across 4 grades?
So what we would be looking at, again, we would be taking 5th grade out of the picture for quarter 1 because
Totally.
we would not have any kids in Mastering the Page for quarter 1 for 5th grade, because we want to see how they
benchmark.
come in that transition, that benchmark. But what we would be doing this spring and in our data conversations is taking a look at that New Hampshire SAS data, look at that iReady data, and how do those align, and then taking a look at those kids and getting parents to buy in too, because that's the other important piece. You have the ability to opt in and opt out of any piece of instruction, and getting them to see the value in learning and the value in helping them to build these foundational skills that are applicable, whether they choose to be like Rocco and be youth in government governor of the year in New Hampshire, or they choose to go work in an industry or a
Andy's
trade.
question though, so would you just take the lowest performing on the SAS?
No.
So what I would look at is I would use like multiple data points. So I would use SAS, I would use iReady, I would look at both the spring. So like if you're talking about a current 5th grade student, incoming 6th grader, I would look at the spring iReady benchmark, which would be this June, the fall iReady benchmark, which would be the first couple weeks of September, this past spring's SAS. So those are my quantitative measures, right? I would talk to the classroom teacher and we would have those conversations within our PLCs. And I would also look at like the classroom grades. I would also want to see those kids probably within the first few weeks of school and take them for a writing sample, take them for some informal assessments that take about 15 minutes per student. I'm envisioning it about the 15 students per grade You really don't want to group like much bigger than that, especially if I'm one person
Right.
in there, in order for the instruction to be effective. But I'm envisioning the 15 students who meet that criteria that are not identified within special education.
Students per quarter, but that could be across grades.
No, I think it's 45
Yeah.
students per quarter.
Or it could be, well, I'm kind of envisioning it two ways. I think you could have, as you move forward in the year, you could have a 5th, 6th grouping and a 7th, 8th grouping. But I think it could also be 15 8th graders, 15 7th graders. But I think allowing for that flexibility is going to help you identify the need and go where the need is. Like if there's 16 students who need it in 6th grade, I'm not gonna be like, no, you're out. Like, sorry. Like we have to also see like who those kids are. at this
So
point.
it's about looking at the data, finding those kids. We're not looking for the kids that have a gap that's this big to close. We're looking to kind of take the gap that this big as our tier 2 step to kind of close that smaller gap, because those smaller gaps are the ones that are easier to close. We're going to continue to focus on that tier 3 with our special ed instruction, with our instruction at that level, but to kind of take these people that are right on that cusp of being on level and getting them to move in that
So now
direction.
to your point about getting families to buy in, because obviously we have very limited time in the day and we're displacing unified arts, which I understand that probably makes the most logical sense. So it would be presented as, we think your child would benefit from this and we'd like to pull them into this. Is that how that would?
Yeah, everything's done. So like when I see a student, even when I do like informal assessments, like I get parent permission, obviously, to do that. So everything would be done in that way. And I am kind of fun, so it might be a fun class.
Don't get me wrong, my daughter got pulled off her stuff and she's like, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm like, perfect.
And just so that the board knows, this did go through the curriculum committee and was approved unanimously to go. So just so that you know that followed all the steps.
Our pipe dream is that we would have a mastering the page and mastering the number as dueling possibilities. You know, not every student who's going to need mastering the page would need mastering the number as another opportunity out there. It's down the line because we don't have the staff that's going to be able to support. We have a math tutor. She's wonderful. But we're looking for someone who has that specialist ability to really look at those
They
pieces
have
of
that
information.
specialized training to do what Kate's doing.
Correct.
Did that answer
It
your
did.
question? Okay, great. Perfect. Yeah, got it.
And then I assume, and you may have already said this, I'm kind of like, my head's spinning a little bit at this point, but I assume that there will be some sort of like tracking, outbound tracking to measure
Yeah.
the success of this, because I would think that this is something that we would want to try to expand upon if we could.
Right. So I use the dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills. It's called DIBBLS. Elementary schools, it goes K through 8. It's through the University of Oregon, and it's all the materials are free online. So it's you benchmark fall, winter, spring, and you progress monitor in between. And you progress monitor comprehension and oral reading fluency. So that is one of the things that I use, and that is something that like I would use with students who are like at the end of the quarter. We would have something, because I do like. I do see a lot of value in using iReady, and I do use iReady as a data point, and I do believe it is valuable data to use. However, I also want to hear them. I want to see them right. I want to see what they're doing and give them that opportunity so I can have those multiple data points. So I think there would be progress monitoring within the course. There would be some sort of culminating progress monitoring or benchmark. And then like as students are leaving that course, like let's say we're now in quarter 3, we can continue to have those conversations. And I think those are really PLC conversations to be having. Like, oh, they're struggling, checking their grades, and then we can move from there. Do I take them again? Where do we go from there? Do they need something more intensive? Did that answer your question?
Yeah. And
Okay.
so this would also be presumably a good like safety net or ability to catch kids that may also need like an IEP or something like that as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think the other piece, just to clarify, coming from Griffin, we have this talk about the transitions, and this is one of the things Andrew asked earlier, is we have the kids who come from Griffin, and there's the suite of tutors that they have for Title I and for support that they have, and then, hi, welcome to LMS, and you're on your own, sink or swim, kid. We don't want that to be the case. We don't want that to be the case where they go from having this supportive nest that carries them along and then, whoop, let's see how you do. We want to have that supportive nest that can continue to carry them through their middle school years and help that transition and help, again, close that gap from those kids who are performing close to grade level, but not quite there yet. So that they don't become a larger gap as they get towards 8th grader and we have referrals and other things that are happening towards the end of their career at LMS.
And so in June, I will finish my 16th year in this district. I've spent my entire career here. So I feel very passionate about making sure that when kids leave Litchfield, that they are able to read. That they're able to read, they're able to write in whatever it is they do. Everybody has to be able to read and write. And I want them to feel really good about that. So I want to do what we can to maximize that impact.
Love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Fantastic.
Great.
All
So
right.
can we get board approval for this class?
It's for next year, right?
It's for 26,
immediately,
27.
right.
It's gonna be for
So
26,
I would
27.
recommend waiting till our next meeting, right?
Okay.
I'd like to solicit public input. If there is public input, I think it's a great idea. I don't think there's gonna be any really pushback from the board, but I wanna give the public a chance just to weigh in.
Yeah.
And give them the opportunity to send us emails or just let us know their thoughts.
Yep.
Right?
And once again, any parent would have that ability, should this course pass, that ability as they can with any course material, opt out. Should they choose not to be part of it, any individual could decide, I want my kid to have unified arts and not learn to read. It'll be okay. That's their own choice.
Perfect. All right, sounds good. We'll look forward to having this on the next agenda and going from there.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
want
you
me
for
to
all you do.
Of course.
Do you want me to answer
love
the
Yes.
Boston question before I walk away?
Yes.
My email last night was effective because we got about 40 permission slips back today. So we went from 11 yesterday to around 50 today.
Okay,
So
great. Fantastic.
We're closer to the 88 that we have in 8th grade. I don't think they're all going to end up going, but the due date is tomorrow morning. So if you're watching at home, don't forget to get your permission slips in.
All right, permission slips in for 8th grade field trip, right? And we have chaperones and they've gone through volunteer trainings and
There's
On that
a
too?
meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock that we're doing virtually to help get everybody trained so they can all be on the trip and ready to go.
all right, excellent. Thank
All right.
you very much.
I just wanted to tell you, after the, I don't know if I got to tell you this, after the move up day.
Yes.
Which was very well done, by the way. I still am finding my way around the middle school, even though I've been there a few times. A bunch of the kids got to see Bailey, right? And it was awesome. Like the kids loved it. It was really exciting to see because I hadn't seen it yet, so it was exciting to see. So I just wanted to say that was really cool.
Thank you.
I know my
She's-
daughter's super excited about.
She is
going
coming
through-
along. She's attending her significant training. So she had some training last week
Yeah.
over vacation. She's had a few individual days prior to vacation, and she hits her full boot camp days. She's going to sit in Londonderry. So they are giving her her full comfort dog training, her therapy dog training, and she will have to pass the Good Citizens training in order to be a certified therapy dog. But she is well on her way.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
She's not here because spending all day at school and then coming, I cannot picture chasing her around in here right now. She's still a dog.
Need a break.
Somebody would hold the dog.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move back to end of year events.
Yeah, so just linked there is the 3 lists from the schools about their end of the year events. We like to keep the board informed of different activities going on. You're always invited. I have the formal invitations for graduation that I will send down next the way here for June 5th, Friday night, June 5th, 6 p.m. at Campbell High School, celebrate the class of 2026. The lists include various events throughout the rest of the school year. So happy, hopefully people join us. So.
Looking forward to that graduation.
Yeah, it'll be nice. Next on, we had our Alice yearly Alice drill at the 3 schools right before break. Good job, better. We do better I've actually oddly seen all 3 of them because I came when I had been hired, and so this is my 3rd year doing the drill with the district. Each year it gets better and stronger. Matt, you were there for you've been, I think, all 3 actually. Definitely we saw improvements. There's always stuff to work on with these drills or ideas. I think one of the things we talked about is changing the drill next year. We've been pretty consistent on what the drill has been for the 3 years to help people understand like their responsibilities, their roles, and those type of things. But one of the things we talked about is, I won't say like upping the ante, but I don't have a better phrase, so that's what I'm going to use. But have people have more of a visual cue of what some of the intruder look like. So what we talked about is I'm a pretty recognizable person between the three schools. Have me act as the bad guy, dressed in like a bright vest so people can see me. And then like if you made a decision to evacuate, was that the right decision? Well, if you can see me, that wasn't the right decision, right? Like if you come across me and like take that next step in kind of the drill is to help people understand. Because one of the things we're doing a really good job are is people, and this is like a key thing for Alice, is you need to make decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like making a decision is the most critical thing, and then going with that decision. But we need to train people to make right decisions too, right? So, for example, at one of the schools, we had a class we had a couple classes that evacuated. For one of the schools, it was a perfect decision. They had an exterior door. They got outside to a field safely, and they would have had no issues. Another class, it would probably have been a close call, whether they came across the intruder or something like that. So if they had that visual cue of like, oh, we saw Brian, we should have looked at that differently. So we're talking about doing those type of steps next for the drill. But overall, very pleased. I feel, police and fire joined us, and they were pleased with the outcomes. Again, gave us little things to work on, but I'm glad everyone did a really nice job with it across the district. So.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have to give a big thanks to police and fire. I mean, having a history of like where we've been really working to build that relationship, they have been just incredible partners. The amount of time and energy that they put into that is like really impressive, and they're very invested in like helping us get to the next level and make sure that it's we're the safest we can be. So I really appreciate their work.
Thank you.
Because
to the
I
chiefs
will
of the
also say
departments.
that decision making in I'll call it high stress situations applies to everything.
Right.
So being first aid trained and Red Cross certified, you see that with people. Do they actually need help? Do they not? You see that with people just as we call it bystander syndrome. Of there's a car accident, everyone's sitting around, no one's called 911 yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there is, and you're absolutely right. Is it the right decision? I mean, if someone's up and walking around, probably don't need to attach AED paddles.
Right.
Right. But it's you get people that immediately go there, and so it's making decisions, timely decisions, the right way.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to just add though, hopefully not make Brian start sweating and getting angry about the blue light system, but
Oh no! Actually, we have a positive update on it.
well, that's great.
Yeah.
So we'll hear a positive update on that. But one thing that we did discuss was the problem that occurs when there's like enough, too much people discrediting like practice or false alarms and stuff like that. And so like that is one kind of focus that we have to try to continue to address, because we don't want people to become complacent, and sometimes that even happens with drilling too, just because people get used to it.
Yeah, one of the things we stress and one of the things we got to work on is people hear drill and out of good intentions they react almost right away, right? Like we get on the announcement, okay, we're going to do a drill. You're supposed to wait till the drill starts to actually start to react, right? But people get in the habit of like, I'm in drill mode, I'm going to do this, this, and this, right? Take a beat, right? And react more timely to the situation. I think that's why having like an active person involved will help that a little bit, right? Like with that type of thing. Because right now, which I think was the right way to approach it, it's all just verbal over the loudspeaker, but there's a visual cue next. I think that can help people with their decision making on stuff. But everyone did a great job. I don't want to nitpick too much.
Yeah.
You mentioned the blue light. I'll give a very brief update. I don't think we were planning on an elaborate one, but you heard my frustration with it, I think, during that meeting. We met with them today. They're coming out next week. They solved the high school issue relatively quickly. They were able to identify the problem because we had that kind of false alarm. And it was an easy fix. To summarize it, we had 2 panic buttons that were too close, so there was interference, so that's what created the trip in the system. Yep. And so we addressed that. That's good. And we think there might be a similar issue at GMS because we had a little issue with that earlier this year, and so they're going to come and double check to make sure that resolves that issue. So that makes me feel a lot better because I was getting frustrated with the blue light system going off unnecessarily. So they've been very helpful. We'll talk next year in the budget season. There's some maintenance things we could do that would maybe Yeah, that would help prevent this from happening and make the system more efficient. But that's a next fall budget conversation. We don't need to get into all that right now, so. And that's all I got for Alice.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I'll just keep ripping them off.
Hiring?
Hiring update. I just want to give an update. We'll get into specifics, not public, with some actual candidates, but we're pleased with where we're going with hiring right now. We're seeing maybe not the biggest pools, but we're seeing positive pools, like when we're hiring candidates and stuff like that. For example, we're doing 2 teaching positions a little later today, and I would say we had genuinely, 4 or 5 good, strong candidates in each of those pools, right? So we're getting some good candidates applying for our jobs. In the positions that we're not quite ready to present a hire yet, it's not because of lack of candidates, it's just we're not there yet in the interview process to present a candidate. So I think that's, I'm cautiously optimistic of where we're going with that. Really happy with the hiring we have done so far. So that's been a concern across all of education, but it was a concern of ours last year and the depth of our pools. And we hired great people last year, so thankfully that all worked out. And right now it's looking like we have some good pools, so that's
Great, right?
positive.
It just continues to speak to Litchfield being an employer of choice,
Yeah.
right? And we're open for business, and we want good qualified staff to be
Yeah.
here.
I think our retention was good this year too. It has been. There's always going to be turnover. That's the nature of the business.
Oh,
But we're
that's
going through.
fantastic.
Yeah, I was going through my calendar for an unrelated reason, and just the number of final interviews I had at this time last year versus what I'm doing this year, it's much less, which is a good sign that we're just retaining good people and making good choices when we hire and everything. So. Next up, budget committee schedule. That's more for an FYI for the board, for your knowledge, so you have it. And Andrew, jump in on any of this, but the budget committee sent us their draft meeting schedule for next year. I think highlighted here is the joint budget meetings that we have with the budget committee, and then the various review sessions. Our plan is, I think we had mentioned previously, is to do the budget on October 28th, present that to, send the final budget off to the board and budget committee for review. That's prior, good week in front of those joint budget meetings that we have. And again, our plan is to have the building project proposal included in those, in all that. So,
Fantastic. I would just highlight that, and I mentioned this to the Budget Committee, November 10th is a professional development day on our calendar. I understand the staff will be working that day, right? But just if that's a date that we need to move,
Yeah.
I did kind of tee that up that we might need some flex with that day. It might be okay, I don't know. So,
we can check. We have an admin meeting next week. We'll put it on our agenda and get it on people's radar to see if we can anticipate any issues. I think this past year it fell on Veterans Day, and we do have some veterans as part of our administrative
Correct.
team. So that was one of the reasons why I think we asked to move it this past year. But we should be okay, but that's a good note, and we will check up on.
The other thing we just
With
want to
our
make
team.
sure of is making sure that, like, for deliberative, that the auditorium is
Yep.
reserved,
Yep.
and that even for, and we can coordinate with Mr. Brunel, right, for the joint budget reviews, that the fire station is reserved for those.
Yeah. We'll just book those tomorrow. I'm just gonna make a note real quick. Awesome. All right, next up, Litchfield 250 celebration. Peter, jump in at any point if I miss anything with this.
Okay.
Not gonna go over every details of the celebration. I'm gonna go over the school portion of it, which is just a little bit. So I had the pleasure of attending one of their planning meetings before vacation. The celebration is going to be on July 25th and 26th. The committee has asked, and I see no issue with it, using our parking lots at the high school for parking, since there's a number of events going to be happening at DARE as part of the celebration. I anticipate the board has no issues with allowing, the committee to use the space for parking or anything like that. So we're going to go with that. They might expand. I know there's some things in the works though. When I left that meeting, it sounds like they were talking about maybe using some interior space for an art show or various music things or something like
I
that.
think that's still sort of up in the air with
Yeah.
where the artwork is going to go. I know that Nikki Beauregard talked to the art teacher,
Yep.
so I don't think they've nailed anything now. There's another meeting of that group tomorrow.
Yeah. But does the board have any issues with our involvement with?
No,
I'll talk about fireworks. In
No
one sec, but-
concerns from my side. I just want to make sure that that is coordinated around like district painting and
Yes.
floors and all that stuff that we do during the summer.
Exactly. So that's why we're going through all this and making sure we can get everything kind of squared away and stuff. Like
And it's a Saturday and a Sunday.
Yeah, we cleared out the fields, make sure that we're not booking the fields for any random baseball games, AAU games, or anything that weekend and everything. So we have everything cleared out now. The second part of this is fireworks. So there'll be fireworks. I think their intent is to use Campbell as where they're setting them off. Not necessarily that's where the viewing of the fireworks would be. That would be over at Dara. So a couple things related to that. We have been provided the certification from the firework projectionist. I think that's the official term for it. So that's a good, because we have to have that. And because it's happening, setting off at our,
There's a policy on this, isn't there?
well, we have to get, this is where it comes into. So we would have to be included on the insurance for the fireworks, right? So as the board, our responsibility is it's on our site that it would be safe for them to set it off, and we got to ensure that.
So we'll have, the group will have an insurance policy. I'm sure they can just,
They do. They send it to me.
Yeah.
It's all good. Everything. It's all standard. I'm gonna check with fire tomorrow. We have emergency management and make sure that they're all good with it. They're getting a permit through. They might already have the permit already.
they're getting a
for fire.
permit from the fire department, whether it's come through or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, not sure about that, but we'll talk about that tomorrow when we talk emergency management. I have no issues with them using the site for the fireworks. They're doing everything they're supposed to do from an insurance, whatever. But I wanted to make sure the board was comfortable because we do have to be included on the insurance certificate as the venue of where they're being shot from. So is the board comfortable?
No
with
issues.
that? Okay. And then it sounds like a wonderful event. We're trying to get some student groups involved in this. We gave some names forward. I don't know where all those communications left. I've been sometimes CC'd, sometimes not, so.
Yeah, well, I'll
Things
make
play
sure
out.
that Nikki includes you on everything going forward.
Yep.
There is one change. We were gonna have a petting zoo at Dara,
Yes. Yep.
right? And then the veterans are gonna offer a much larger program, and they wanna do it at Campbell, I think on the football practice field. I don't know if Bobby's Jock has talked to
I
you
have
about
not
that.
communicated yet with Bobby on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to do so. I don't see any issues with, we gotta talk about what the animals are, because there actually is policy connected to what animals are allowed on school property.
Boats will tear up the field.
Well, those are some of the things, like what are we talking about for animals? Where exactly, like where their little pens, right, or however they're holding them. So we gotta iron out those details. I'm happy
Also
to do
be
that with-
like a hayride that would go out the back entrance of the school, the back exit from the school, be on the football field and kind of go around the block for the kids to take a little ride around town.
Candidly, would this be a opportunity for us to market GMS renovation?
100%, I think so,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, of course.
Like, I think we should have some
Have a
sort of
booth.
something, booth.
Have a booth at the
informational
event.
pamphlets, whatever the case may be. I think it's a great opportunity to do that, so, yeah.
Let us know date and time, and I'll get FIC members to help staff.
July 25 and 26.
25th and 26th. Starts, I think, at 12 or,
So
I think
would
1
the-
o'clock.
I would assume the animals would be gone by the time of the fireworks? Or we
Yes.
have a bunch of
They'll-
animals
That could be
freaking
problematic.
out?
They'll be,
Yeah,
but there's gonna be lots, there's gonna be music throughout the course of both days.
sounds great.
There's gonna be tethered balloon
I'm
rides.
assuming there's notifications to abutters, right, to give them a heads up.
That's out of my
Interesting
hands,
question.
so what,
Um,
I'll let that committee. do it.
I will take a note.
I would hope.
It is getting plastered all over Facebook and the town pages. So I think people know, but that's a valid point. Why is there a cow in my front yard?
I was gonna say, and especially for the ordinance and just the sound levels, right, there may have to be an official notice from the town that could be happening to the abutters.
Talk about notice for abutters for lights on the field, right, so.
Doesn't say anything about cows.
Right.
Right.
It's a farm town.
We've had cows escape in town before, a few years ago.
I've left this meeting and I've seen donkeys going down Hillcrest. No joke. No joke.
I mean, my daughter saw the peacock from McQuestion Farm cross the road. And she was like, "What the?"
All right, what else?
That's all I had. These guys have some other stuff to add in, but for me
All right,
specifically.
we'll turn it over to
that's what I
business and
got.
operations. What do we have?
So we are continuing to adjust our encumbrances as we go, keeping an eye on our spending and working towards end of year. One thing I did want to mention, we do have a transfer that we were looking to have. Basically, our propane, we got our last propane bill for the high school, and it exceeded our budget, mainly due to the default. But we had some money in the GMS fuel line that we knew we weren't going to touch, so we were looking to transfer the money from that line to the CHS propane line to cover that, and that's in the amount of $6,900.
Okay, I'll make a motion to transfer $6,900 from GMS Fuel 624 to CHS Propane 623.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Shoemaker. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 4-0.
Thank you very much. With regard to solar, I do have another link there, the additional usage information. We were looking for some more information. I just want to make sure that that answers the questions that you had. If that gives you the information that you were looking for, I can certainly reach back out if this is not sufficient.
You can have a look at it and just let.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it and get back
Yep,
to you.
absolutely.
And I've read through the response and kind of the timeline. I think my concern, right, is we're getting close to this now being complete, if I'm reading timeline correctly, towards the start of the school year, right? And I think the desire is to have this installed, operational, without kiddos in the schools, right, or in this building. So, I mean, we're cutting it close.
We are cutting it very close.
So-
And I reached out again for an update on if we have a ship date, if we have a solid ship date, because it was supposed to be mid-May for Toshiba, and I have not heard back if there's been an update on that, if we have a solid date.
Do we know if Dynamic Grid as a company is doing business with other firms, other municipalities, schools?
It's a good
Anybody?
question.
Wait, are we their customer?
Right.
I mean, we keep getting money from them. Well, we get money through the payment thing, right? So somewhere someone is giving them money, and it's not us. So I don't know where that money's coming from. So maybe
Right,
they have
okay.
relationships with other companies.
I'm really just curious, right? If, other clients of theirs have a similar experience.
Yeah, maybe I know
do a
of no
little
other
digging,
schools, but that doesn't mean there aren't other schools. So we could certainly poke around and see what we can find out.
It'd just be interesting to understand, right? If there are other grids and other types of systems that were of similar design that are kind of going through the same thing.
I know that Kay has mentioned that, it sounds like she probably doesn't work with schools much, but specifically she was saying that, this project was a little bit different, designing it differently because of more of the concerns that we would have in a school location than they would at other business locations. So I don't know. I don't know what business is, so I can certainly look more into that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. All right, and then we had, going back to the agenda, student activity accounts?
Yes.
Yes.
So on this one, right, I was having some conversation with the business administrator on the student activity accounts, right? And I feel like we knew these student activity accounts are out there, but candidly, I didn't really know what are in these accounts, the number of accounts that are out there. So there was a report circulated on the number of accounts, and what we've learned is that there's a large number of accounts out there that are at the discretion of each of the buildings. And there's about $400,000 or so collectively across all the accounts that are out there. I think that there's certainly a lot of opportunity for at least a good portion of these accounts to tighten our controls, because some of these accounts have been out there, I think, for quite some time.
Sure.
right? And to just determine what are the next steps for the funds that are sitting in these accounts.
Did you say $400,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty typical for like,
Really?
yeah, so like the Bow one, when we were the principal there, just the high school one, we carried about 300,000, you know, in our student activities. Now that ebbs and flows over the course of the year, right? Like, so depending on each school, there's like rules and then there's other things, right? High school is usually the biggest because you have the biggest accounts there. For example, the class of 2027, the junior class, their account should be, I'm doing this from memory, should, if we're doing it right, have a pretty big number in it because they're selling prom tickets, so it should have a lot of money at that. But once they have the prom and pay that bill, that money's gonna go back out of it. You know, so there's a lot of churning over. The parking lot stuff is pretty high right now in student activities, and we'll pay that out in the summer when the paving and restriping of the parking, renumbering of the parking lots happen, right? So those accounts will ebb and flow over the course of a year.
So the student activity account pays for the maintenance on the parking lot?
Well, in this example, we have a parking fund, right? Kids pay the parking passes.
Yeah.
And for like the painting, because we repaint them every year, that money goes right back to the parking lot. So it like is a self kind of revolving door there. So we don't budget for the repainting or the resealing of the parking lot. That's what the parking
There's some
passes do.
odd, like $50,000 or something in that particular account. Does that cover the ceiling of that as well?
Yeah.
Yes, and there
Yep.
was a little extra in that because we didn't do it last year.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So in terms of next steps for, like, identifying the accounts that have been out there for some time and actioning them, what are those next steps?
So right now, actually, at the high school, which is really the bulk of a lot of the accounts, I know they're working, both Jen and Amanda in the front office have been working to try to, consolidate some of those. So we'll definitely continue to work through that, and I can work with the other schools as well to make sure that that's happening. And then as far as, I think there was like at least one that was in there that was an old scholarship fund, which we shouldn't have in there, that, so we'll talk to the auditors about how they want to handle that.
Okay, all right. All right, excellent. Well, I'd like to continue to monitor this in progress, right? Just so we have oversight of all those accounts, and I think we should have that as a regular just monitor. Can we include this just in the Excel reports that you link to the,
Sure.
is there some way to do that?
What's the best way to do that? You don't,
You
if
want
I want to
public?
warn
I
you,
was just gonna
you do
say.
not want to get lost in the inertia of student activity
Yeah.
accounts, because sometimes
I
it's
want to
like,
be able to monitor progress.
That's
that the
cool.
number of accounts is
Yeah.
shrinking.
yeah, I think that's a good idea to do. Just to
Mm-hmm.
use us specifically as an example, as we were leaving Bow, one of our final projects was to audit the student activity accounts, and we condensed the number. We found accounts that no longer were not serving a purpose. We said anything, I was there 7 years, so anything that wasn't touched in 7 years, the money got removed and put into a general account, right? And then used for general purposes in the school. We just use that 7 as a marker because I could say with confidence, yeah, we're not using that account anymore firsthand. So we've asked the high school, they did it on their own, actually, Jen and Amanda started on their own, because when we asked them about it, they're like, oh yeah, we already started that. So they're doing that work right now. So I think as the summer unfolds and they're making those decisions, we can definitely provide an update on where we are in number of accounts and whatever. I just want to warn you, some of these like ins and outs are like $5 at a time. You don't want to get too lost in it, in like seeing 100 transactions of $5 in and out.
No,
in and
I
out. So-
don't want that, but I
Yeah.
want it at the high level.
Yeah,
right?
so I think totals of it, you can see the ebb and flow. And
There's
how it
30
goes.
accounts and now there's 22 accounts.
Yeah, and this is the
we get-
total
What's the
amount.
number?
We're
What's the
talking
target?
hundreds of accounts, right?
Jeez.
Yeah, we're talking quite a
Yeah.
few.
So how many accounts do we really,
Well, anything that's a good question. Like anything, you need to create an account for like money, right? Like that's separate from our budgetary money, because typically the money that is raised through student activities are done through stuff like parking passes, which is like an expense to kids. That's going to do it. Because the key with student activity accounts is they have to be spent on kids in some capacity, right? Like the kids have to benefit from whatever the expense is. Or like the vast majority of the funds there is something that has been fundraised at some point, right? Through some sort of, or it's generated through some sort of revenue that's not from a budgetary standpoint, from a taxation standpoint, right? So like a lot of clubs and activities will have a student activity account, right? Like youth and government's gonna have their own. The each class is gonna have their own, right? The National Honor Society is gonna have their own. So you can quickly add up these like accounts, and they're gonna have, a couple $100, $1,000 in it, like kind of go. One of the things we saw in Bow that needed a lot of cleanup is they did the senior projects, and like sometimes you need a senior project, an account for an individual senior project, because they need to house the money. It looks like Campbell's gotten away from that, which is a good practice. I'm not saying to bring that back, but like if someone's, like, we were here with the Eagle Scout project, that if that was gonna be a senior project, like, and they were gonna fundraise that through us, we need to, there needs to be a place to hold the money, right? So you create a student account for that project, for that moment. Now, if you're staying on top of your student activity accounts, once it's used up, you close the account and then delete it, right? Like, because kid graduated, you're not gonna access that account anymore, close it, move on, right? So we need to do a good job of doing that across the board and everything. So I think those top level views, we can do number of accounts, maybe once a year, just update you on the list of them, right? What's come and go. You can see the ebbs and flows of the year, how the student activity count moves, and like, so you have that comfort and that understanding of everything kind of going on with it, so.
There will always be the accounts though with the zero balances in there, because we can't actually delete the rent from the e-finance account, so those will still
Oh, yeah,
show
because they're in
the zero.
e-finance where we use
Exactly.
QuickBooks, so we could
But
actually
I
delete
can,
it.
but when I generate the list, I can do the active accounts.
Correct, yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, we use a different accounting system in both, so we could literally delete it, so.
All right, appreciate that update. LMS parking lot?
So we are in a good spot. They have completed the survey of the parking lot, and they're working on the actual design that we can hand to Continental for the estimate that we need. So we're just waiting on that, which I think we should be receiving pretty.
Yeah, seems like they're ahead of schedule.
Yes,
Because they were here
exactly.
doing the surveying
Which is wonderful.
2 weeks ago, then that was ahead of that schedule, so hopefully we continue to be in good, they understand our urgency with getting that and other decisions that domino off of that, so
And the town is gonna do McElwain,
they are.
so I don't know if Kevin has reached out to you as far as
Informally,
timing.
we have, I don't know if you're
Yeah,
talking to
I
them
talked-
recently.
Yeah, well, I just talked to him when we had the sinkhole
Cool.
situation, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I also had a citizen in town talk to me about this project, and that we have that right of way that goes out through the over 55.
Right.
A long-term resident who remembers everything says at some point that was supposed to be paved all the way through and out the other end. Does that ring a bell with you?
It does. At
So-
some point, that egress was supposed to be connected into that 55 as a secondary.
Is that, like, if I'm going into the pickup line, like, I just go straight, that
Through the
one?
woods.
It's through the woods. I don't know if it's straight in line with it.
diagonal?
It's kind, yeah, it's kind of,
Like by the
I'll have to
leach
drive.
field?
it'd be across the leach field, which
Across
I'm
the
sure we
leach field
couldn't do.
diagonal.
Okay.
But you might be able to
Yeah,
take McElwain and go straight through
Yeah.
and get to that, but it's
Yes,
my understanding that was
yes,
supposed to be
yes,
paved
yeah.
and just have the gate.
Hand motions, but I know, yeah. Okay. They want it paved? We want it
It,
paved.
it was supposed to be paved years ago.
Do we want it paved if we're?
Well, I mean, as a secondary egress to that building, I
Be
don't know.
nice.
Yeah.
It would be it would be good to have, then you can get a bus out that way.
Right, in an emergency, or an ambulance in an emergency, yeah.
There's gonna be a flood of people that come in here if we live on that road. If they
That's
sure
okay.
you say that there's gonna be a bus going through there.
Yeah.
I think it'd be more of the
Emergency
ambulance.
vehicle.
Like if you're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
the-
That- that's
truck?
what it
I
was.
don't think it's a bus.
Yeah.
That's what it was intended for.
Okay.
Alright, end of year expenditures, we are chipping away at, getting quotes for these items. But one thing that we really, I mean, at some point, we should probably, because we're starting getting the quotes, if, it might be a good idea for us to go through, and if there's anything, that we know off the bat is unlikely that we'd be looking into. I'm just thinking as far as, making sure that we're
Yeah, we don't wanna
getting
waste
quotes
anyone's
and then-
time.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, we
So-
want to refine this for sure.
Yeah, so maybe that's something we can do at the next meeting, is go through this list. For example, a number of us are helping getting the quotes right now, so it was me today who was talking with the flooring people, because we have in our CIP stuff, some stuff related to flooring. If that's something that we have zero interest in, I don't wanna drag people along and bring multiple people out here to get quotes and
Look, I
stuff,
think
but-
in fairness, a lot of this is going to be dependent upon the price of LMS.
Yeah,
That is true.
So that's why I think doing that prioritizing, like there are some things I would advocate for, like this is the next thing after that parking lot, like if it is. And again, using the flooring people, because I happened to be talking to them today when they came in today to do some quoting and measuring and stuff like that. They work with schools and they're like, we understand where you're at. And like, let us know where you are from a priority standpoint and like where we are. So we can start to, like, if it's something you are going to move on, we can start tentatively setting up availability for people to do the work, because we know in schools there's a window of 2 months, right, essentially for some of this stuff. But if it's not something and it's more exploratory, we know that too. We're not going to invest as much energy in getting stuff ready on our end and stuff like that. So the quote stuff's been interesting. I've been taking myself a little more active approach. It's kind of fun talking to all these people about the different things that
Yeah.
they do. You learn a lot. Like,
And I think it's TBD, to be right. I think, with the parking lot, top of mind for me anyways, is the $200,000 that we budget to return to taxpayers, and obviously all the warrant articles.
Correct.
Right? So
Yeah.
those are kind of the main things that I think about before any of this.
Yeah.
I think it's Julie's, I don't want to steal her thunder, but I'm going to. She's been working on like getting that estimate of that number. We're feeling pretty good that if the parking lot came in something like $500,000 and the warrant articles are the warrant articles that we have, that we're in a position to do both of those things, right? Now beyond that, that's why I think we need to prioritize this list, right? But we should be in good shape. We knew the parking lot was coming, about a month ago now, so that allowed us to slow down on a couple of things, but that's why I think it's critical getting to that next grouping here. So like beyond the parking lot, beyond the warrant articles, what is our priorities and stuff? We have some opinions, obviously. We talked about it at FIC last meeting. Was that just last meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So formalizing that with the board a little bit more while we're still, a month and a half out, 2
What
months out.
was the FIC's opinion?
They gave us a list. I gotta go find it.
Yeah.
I was remote that meeting, so I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, we started looking through this list, and we had a couple of requests. One is if it's contained on it, or it was for the end of year, if it's contained on the CIP, note it, and then if it is a part of the standard maintenance that we got approved for the next operational budget, we want that noted as well to make sure, like, again, we're doing our due diligence, we're not double dipping. And then of the remaining items, people just started listing like their top 2 or 3 in terms of priorities. So then we took that list and then started sending it back to say, all right, out of this giant list, right? So we probably had 10 or 15 in there. Go start prioritizing 1 through N. We kind of looked at safety, like life, health, and safety as part of it, and then there was the CHS auditorium stuff, because there was said that we were looking at that for several years in a row to do, and got put off along with a few other things. I don't remember all of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot with that.
No, don't worry about
4
it.
weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and there's been a lot of stuff in there. And the LMS soccer field. People really kind of want to try to dive into and figure out, can that be done and used back again for LMS soccer versus transporting the sawmill?
Yep.
That's on the leach field.
Yeah. It was once a leach field and a soccer field at the same time. Can we get it back to that condition?
Okay.
More into.
I think I think I'm gonna save that conversation for next time,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
Yeah, no, it's just what people were throwing out there, right? It's what, 14 grand a year for transportation.
Yeah, well, I'm saving that conversation actually for probably not the reason that people think.
Oh, okay.
I want to talk about something else
Go for it.
later
Okay.
that will help with that conversation. So,
Understood.
yeah.
All right, well, I'll ask the board to spend some time over the next couple of weeks to review thoroughly the end-of-year expenditures, and let's be prepared to come with some opinions on what we can prioritize, deprioritize from the spreadsheet.
So I do have something that Ray shared with me. I don't know if he shared it out with everybody else. There is like a state educational like purchase power thing through the state that he has access to, and he shared the link with me. So there could be like he's seeing quotes from Zoll and Phillips for AEDs for $1,500 a piece, which is when I need to like quote them for my company, it is like 10x that to do it. So for stuff that is physical goods, mats, like we should make sure that we go through that, because we probably have the ability to go through that
Yeah, I think there's a
broad
larger.
purchasing. Yeah.
Tonight's not the night to have it, but I think
Yep.
there's also a larger in an attempt with transparency. I'm gonna try to thread the needle here, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think a good larger discussion on like, sometimes to get access to that stuff, we have to react quickly, right? Like,
Yep.
sometimes we slow down in an effort to be transparent and to get all these quotes and to follow our policies and to do everything that we do, that we sit on things for a long time, right? Because we're trying to really like talk these things through and like show what it is. So like, what is the board's comfort with that? I know this district is very conscious of the financials and making sure things are done correctly, right? And we really appreciate that, especially as being newer people in these roles. But as we get more comfortable and we show that, you know, we're being responsible with our finances and we want to pivot and take advantage of these things, but it means that we just have to make decisions sometimes, like between board meetings and different things, like what's the board's comfort level with that? Because these are the pros and cons of being part of those groups. And we saw it with some of the tech stuff right now. We talked about that at a previous board meeting. We had to react quickly to nail down prices because the prices are going so quickly, right? And the board was gracious enough at the last meeting to allow us to give us the power to make those decisions. But like, again, this is like in an effort to be transparent. We don't want anyone to think we're hiding and we're just spending money frivolously, which is why we go through the effort of talking in great detail about, you know, solar and parking lots and all this other stuff. But what's the right balance of it?
No, I completely understood, right? There's a balance and there's a line to do that.
And that's not a bad conversation. We're very supportive, but but we also are conscious of like, we don't want to think people think we're up to stuff like behind the scenes.
No,
right?
I was just putting it out there. He showed me, I plugged in random things just as a search term, and I was like, okay, that can help.
Yeah, and like give you an example, like this did not happen today, but I could picture it happen. Like I'm talking to the Florent people, one of those spaces we were looking at in the music room. Like if they did not say this to me, everybody, but like I could see them being like, hey, if we can get this done in the next month, we have everything on hand. We can give you a better price, right? Like, are people comfortable with us just making those decisions and doing it, right? It wasn't in our budget. It was something we were teeing up for an end of the year thing. But if we act now, we can actually just get this done and move on with it. And like, I don't know. That's a larger discussion at a different time. So.
Anything else?
I think to Andrew's point, the parking lot price is gonna be the
Is the huge driver, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's-
It's gonna be the driver. It's the
Yeah.
big unknown right now.
Yeah.
So. All right, and hopefully we're staying in close contact with Continental on that, so they can also give us a quick turnaround quote.
Yep. They were here, like we talked about previous meetings, they were here originally when we were looking at what the problem was. They're the ones who suggested going out to do it. So I think they know what, probably not all the details, but like have a general idea of what's going to come back to them. So hopefully they can move quickly with it. So.
Definitely like to thank Alan Major though for expediting
Yes.
their work for us,
Excellent.
because that was
Absolutely.
incredibly helpful in getting us closer to solving this.
Thank you very much. All right, curriculum.
All right. Well, it's good to be back. I feel like it's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
It's been kind of busy. So I know Superintendent O'Connell talked a little bit about the professional learning. We are transferring our platform from Frontline to Vector. It's going to be so much more efficient. Very, very excited about it because our current process is not efficient. It's very time consuming on everybody's part. teachers, let's say they went to a staff meeting, they want to get professional development hours for that, they have to put it into Frontline, and then they have to get prior approval from the building admin, then they have to get prior approval from me to then go back in to then mark the activity complete to then get final approval from me for a staff meeting. And I'm like, oh my.
Or approvals?
Yes, I went through the whole thing last year, and like, this is not efficient for anyone. And then uploading their proof of attendance is another cumbersome. It's been a very cumbersome process, and I've tried working with Frontline to try to get meetings to try to get an easier process, and was met with, oh, well, if you want that level, then you're gonna have to pay for additional like professional development for us to meet with you. I was like, we pay for your product. It just wasn't working out. So I spent some time with the professional learning coordinators at each of the buildings, looking at different products, because we have Vector for our compliance training, and we also have PowerSchool, which is our student information system. Both offer professional learning tracking pieces. So I was thinking to myself already, why do we have Frontline anyway? Like, if we're using two platforms that offer it, what was the purpose of going to a different one just for that? So we went through and we met with Vector, we got a demo from them, and we met with PowerSchool, got pricing for both. Vector's platform, first and foremost, is incredible in terms of use and efficiency, and making it so that for staff meetings, the professional learning coordinators at the building could set up a code for teachers to enter, and it's automatically loaded into their dashboard, and there's no more entering. All they have to do is go in and choose what endorsement they want it to go to. Boom, done. Super simple. They will completely customize our workflows and our platform, and that's not any extra cost, which is really nice. Then I met with PowerSchool. They are a little less robust and less knowledgeable, which was really surprising, about the requirements for professional learning and how teachers have to earn their CEUs and all that kind of stuff. So that was surprising, and their pricing was astronomical. So we decided as a group we're saving money, so it's almost $1,000 less than what I budgeted for in Frontline for this next fiscal year. So that's nice. And it will automatically load their compliance training. So right now Holly is doing like manual loading of all the compliance training, and it's all going to talk together now, and it's a single sign-on, and it'll tell teachers, like, you have this many days to complete this training. Oh, don't forget, do your training. So it's got a lot of really good features to it, and it's just going to improve our system, like, so I'm so excited about it, and then we can bulk, as administrators, we can bulk approve people, like, things too. We don't have to, like, right now, just to give you an example, because I have to prior approve and final approve everyone for everything. I'll have 400 approvals to do that I have to sit there and click into each individual one to give them an approval. I'm like, holy time wasting, yikes. So just looking at trying to improve efficiencies in systems and making things better for everyone. So we are going with Vector, and I know Brian kind of mentioned this as well, and something that we want to look into, because we're looking at our evaluation system right now, and they do offer an evaluation system piece that you can add because they have a whole package that you can do with it. I did price that out, and I did have a meeting and a demo with them, with our administrators, just so that we can kind of look to see if that would even be something that we would be interested in pursuing. And it definitely is. It seems like a really good system. And again, they customize things to make it fit our system. We sent them what we currently use, and they said they could digitize it for us to again help improve our efficiencies and systems. So that was a little bit more costly. We did not budget for that for this coming year. So, and what in conversations with administrators, since we're looking at doing some revisions to the system, it doesn't make sense to come and ask to see if we can add that into this year when we're not ready to do that piece of it yet. So when we have gone through our evaluation process and talked with and kind of onboard, we're in the middle of an onboarding process with Vector right now. Once we have all of that and we're comfortable in there, and then we can look more at their evaluation and what would that actually look like. Can you mock it up for us and all of that kind of stuff? Then we might have more conversations in potentially adding it as part of the budget cycle. So that's where we're at with that. I'm very excited about it. Any questions on?
When you going live?
Before next year. So we're right in the middle of getting everything. They just sent me some of the onboarding information at the beginning of this week. So I've sent it to IT, and we're working on the single sign-on stuff and checking the integration of all of like what we need in terms of the specs and all of that kind of stuff. So
Do we have any contract break fees with Frontline?
we have a year to year, and I was very specific with Vector as well, because they wanted us to sign a multi-year. And I said, as a school district, we are a year to year budget. We're at the liberty of our taxpayers, so we can only commit to yearly. So with Frontline, our contract ends at the end of the year. So
We don't have to give them any notification that we're not gonna renew at all.
because we don't sign a multi-year, we're just like, okay, thank you. I'm done.
All right, sounds good.
So I guess when we do the year-to-year, call it renewal with Vector, does that include any updates or upgrades that they've made to their platforms and systems throughout that year? Does that come with that new fee? Or is that gonna be an additional?
Well, there's always, like, for Frontline, for example, they typically assess for each year, you're looking at a 3 to 7% increase in price, and I always budget for that, because that will then come with whatever they have updated.
Yeah, I'm talking about just their platform and their system
And your
itself.
maintenance, right?
Right, so either it's maintenance, or I've seen it of where you're paying for the maintenance to use their platform and their system, and then, oh, you guys wanna upgrade to the latest, greatest that we've got? Here's a $30,000 fee to go get the latest, greatest to transport all your stuff over. Or is it gonna be when we renew, hey, no, this is a brand new contract, I need the next level of system?
Yeah, in professional learning systems, I've never seen them assess that much of the typical. They will include, and this was also Frontline too. Like every time you sign on with them again, they give you their latest updates and things. I've never run into. Oh, surprise! By the way, you know, they are like they say like, oh, you'll get a better discount if you go multi-year, and
We
that
have done
kind of
multi-year
thing.
contracts,
So
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and if there is value in doing so, I mean, I think we'd be interested in understanding what that is.
Yeah, and I definitely, because this is our first year going with them in this scale, I want to see how it works, right? Like I want to see, like, because they're salespeople, right?
you want-
And they show you the shiny thing, and you're like, ooh, this shiny thing looks really awesome.
You want to see the good, bad, and ugly of what happens behind the scenes when I
Yes.
don't have service right there.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. I want to see, like, they're saying, like, all this is customizable and all this stuff. And we've had good experiences and good relationships with them for the the compliance software and all that kind of stuff. So it's been great. So now I want to see what this piece looks like. And then if, like, we start onboarding and they customize our platform, and because I want to have all of this stuff done by the summer, so that because before the teachers leave, I want to train our professional learning coordinators on how to use it, because I want them to train others, and I'm going to be I want to make the guidebook over the summer to help, because I made a guidebook for Frontline, even though we've had it here for several years. People still don't know how to navigate it because it's so challenging to use. So, but I still want to do a guidebook for the new platform, but I want it to be trained so then I can play in it over the summer and really see how it goes. So then I have a better idea in terms of, do we want to look at their evaluation system? And if we want to look at their evaluation system, it's going to be as good. What could the cost benefit be to looking at a multi-year? Because I want to have that information going into the budget schedule.
Okay. Any other updates?
So I did finish did you get the graphic that I sent you? It's pretty cool. I sent you so yesterday was
Sent it yesterday?
No, I sent it to you tonight.
Oh. Okay.
Because I just finished it before we came here. Yesterday was the culmination of all of the vertical alignment meetings for the year. I met with science yesterday, and another really successful meeting. It's quite the undertaking, but everybody that comes in, digs in, and I always laugh because I tell them at the beginning of the day, like, have you guys ever seen Overboard with Goldie Hawn? When she does all the yard work and then she's sitting in the chair going, bah, 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 bah. That's kind of
What
what
is
it's
it?
like at the end of the day.
What movie?
Overboard with Goldie Hawn and
Matt,
Kurt
you're too
Russell?
young, buddy.
Come on, it's
Oh,
so
man.
good. It's so
It's
good.
a great movie.
Thank you, Dan. It's so good. But she does so much work that she's just sitting there kind of like brain dead. So it's a good analogy for what happens at the end of the day because it's so much work. So this is just a graphic. I know I showed you one of the roadmaps for one of the meetings that we went over, but this just kind of synopsizes the work done at all of the meetings that were held this year. Basically, everybody is at a point where they're in the middle, they're in their standards breakdowns. ELA and math are pretty far ahead. They're almost done with that. And then we are going to be going through, like, social studies and science both have really robust frameworks. So for social studies, their standards are C3 frameworks, and for science, it's NGSS. So we really went and made sure that there's a deep understanding of what those frameworks are, and then each of the dimensions within them, and then what those standards really mean. So we're really breaking those down, and we're also doing cross-content standard mapping so that they can see where, like Kate was saying, like, to do anything, you have to be able to read and write, and you have to read and write in every subject. So where are those cross-cutting concepts in each of these subjects? So we've talked about all of that. And after we do finish the standards breakdown. So Brian, if you go down a little bit, you can see what's coming next. is finishing the standards, then going to priority standards, relooking at and developing our competencies, doing common assessments, rubrics, designing UBDs to get a nice K through 12 district-wide through line, which is going to be really exciting. And then I send feedback surveys out to everybody that participates to see how they felt about the day. And overall, 94% of the responses said that the day met or exceeded their expectations, and that they really want more days like this because they're so productive and great. So I'm always very excited when the last one happens because it's like, okay. But it's such great work, and I'm really appreciative of all the teachers that come in and do the work. I'm appreciative of the superintendent's support and the building admin support, and everybody's all hands on deck on these days because there has to be substitutes and there has to be lots of coordination. So but it's well worth it, and there's already the fruits of the labor are already starting to shine through, which is really great.
That's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen someone put together.
Why, thank you. It was with the help. It was with the help of Gemini.
Yeah, there you
I was
go.
gonna say.
I did not.
Seeing
but,
those all over the place.
But you have to know how to prompt it
Yep.
to the nth degree to get it to
Yeah.
spit something like that out. So, yes, but I think that
Kim's using it too.
doing these things really helps get that nice visual, right? Like I did the roadmaps for every single content area so that they could see where they started, where they are, and where they're going. And then I was like, right before we came here, I said, you know what? I really want something that shows what's been done in everything all together. So here we are.
Awesome.
Okay, great update. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, we have the public minutes from April 15th.
Make a motion to approve them.
We have a motion by Mr. Shoemaker. Go
A
ahead.
second?
Yep, we have a second by Mr. Plansky. Additional discussion on those minutes?
Can we? No, they can be approved.
Yeah, yes, three of us can approve, you can
Yeah.
abstain.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
That carries 3-0-1. Thank you for that. And we have new business. These policies, were they recently added?
Yes,
Okay,
I
I
meant
have
to-
not looked at any of these, so.
Yeah, they're the same ones on that longer list we looked at a long time ago, that were included a long time ago. If we want to hold off, that's fine. It's my mistake. I thought I had sent this to Renee to add to the agenda until I looked this morning and saw
Okay.
they were not on the agenda.
Yeah,
I just looked at them real quick. They go back to like 2020 and 2022.
Can we
What's that?
add these to our next meeting?
Yeah, that's fine.
I haven't
Yeah.
scanned any of these, so.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Also, Andrew is very partial to keeping on his timeline that's on here.
It's, yeah, I just want to be able to
I'm
look
just
at them,
kidding.
so.
Yep, no, I understand. I thought I had sent it to Renee and. I
But,
didn't
you know,
see
the
it.
time is at 8 o'clock, so. We have old business?
Yeah, so enrollment itself is pretty stagnant, which is good. It should be at this time of the year. We shouldn't have a lot of comings and goings. In May, positive kindergarten, we are up to 64 now. We are slowly making our way up on those numbers.
All right, so that's a solid 4 teachers.
There's a solid 4 teachers, 16 kids per kindergarten, which is pretty good. If it's a completely equal split. We have kindergarten, or this is a public pitch for anyone still watching. Kindergarten orientation next Friday. Hopefully we can get a couple other people who maybe haven't actually registered their children. That is very important. If you have a kid going to kindergarten next year, please attend one of our 2 kindergarten orientation sections next Friday. They're 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. Reach out to GMS if you have questions. They're happy to help you with all that. It's very important that we get kids off on the right foot here at GMS. So, especially if you are new to our district and haven't had a kid come through the system yet. So, 64, that's good. We've had people reaching out still, so hopefully that number kind of continues to go up. I don't think we'll need 5 teachers, but unless there's something crazy happens. But I feel good now. We have good classes for 4 teachers. So.
Great, okay.
Athletic training. I want to provide an update. We talked about this, I believe, last meeting, and I just want to walk through some different things. So our plan A is, so Jesse, who's our current trainer, is going to leave at the end of the year. He got a different job out of state. We love Jesse. It's the right thing for his life. Good. So Safe Sport, who we contract through, they're going to obviously try to find us a new trainer for that, as we talked about before. They're struggling to find people they have open other schools where they're not able to provide trainers right now. So we are worried about that. But our first option continues to be continue our contract with them. Tony's been reaching out to other athletic training groups that do this type of contractual work. There's pros and cons to that. For example, one company he spoke to yesterday was a company called Premier. They can help us with game coverages, but it's pretty costly, right? Like they're not able to provide us with a full-time person, but could, or they can provide us with a full-time person. It's going to be 6 figures. So we're like, oh, let's pump the brakes on that. But what can we talk about with game coverage, and can we do some stuff on an hourly basis? So there's an avenue there where we can cover our essential events with training services there, if we get to that point. We're going to talk about this at emergency management tomorrow. But one of the things we want to talk about is specifically at football games, making sure we have coverage, and that might result in EMT coverage for those games. It's a safety thing. We want to talk about how that could look and what would be the costs associated with it if we were to have to go to that necessity to cover football games because of the physicality of it and other things like that. So that's an option we're working on, working within the parameters of what we've had budgeted for athletic training. I think we are definitely going to come forward with a position proposal related to athletic training next year, because it's not just us. A lot of schools who do contracted services are struggling to find, not because of the relationship with contracted services, they're not finding people. Kids who are leaving college with this type of degree are either going the athletic thing, they're making much more money doing like minor leagues or something like that, or they're going to other businesses, other industries, maybe your guys' industries as well, are now picking up athletic trainers or people with their certification to provide services for that. For example, warehouses are bringing in their own people to deal with this type of work and this type of support for their staff. So, and they can pay a lot more than a school can, right?
Corporate
Corporate
has their own.
Correct, something like that. So we're just not seeing people towards schools in this type of capacity. So this can continue to be an issue. The last thing, we're also, as like an emergency, and we can talk about again, we don't make any decisions tonight, it's just updating the board in general, is do we look to utilize part-time nursing as a coverall to help if in event of safety emergencies? They wouldn't be able to provide us athletic training services, but if we had an event and we wanted to hire a nurse part-time, that role would be like, hey, if there's an emergency, they help us facilitate the emergency. For example, we had, I won't go into too much details, but even in-house, we had an athlete during the winter season essentially suffer a heart issue, right? I think some of you know of that. And like, by having a nurse present for that event, they would at least be able to like, okay, this is the emergency people you need to reach out to, right? Like they're not necessarily, like during a school day, right? Like when we have a kid have a medical incident, the school nurse is there to ensure there's care until the emergency personnel can be present on scene. So is that an option for us to look at some additional coverage utilizing nurses to cover certain aspects of it? We have some flexibility. It's not like every day, every practice has to be covered by someone medically, right? There are significant events, football games, for example, where you want coverage from a liability standpoint, but it's not like we have to have a trainer for everybody. It's great, we have that now, but like we're not bound to do that from a legal standpoint or anything. So we're continuing to look at these options. As we get closer to next fall, again, best case scenario, we just have one because the contractual services were able to provide that person to us. But as we approach next fall sports season, we'll have a proposal for if we are not down that avenue, how we're going to make that coverage within our budget and stuff like that. So just general update on athletic training.
This is the position that we went to warrant
Yes.
a couple years ago at this point.
Yep, we're going to revisit it next year. We talk about that again in the budget process, but
This
it's
coming
gonna cost
budget
us
or the
more.
following budget?
What's that?
For
we're gonna introduce it again this next one, right? Like for FY '28, and we can talk about whether it's the right time to do that or not. But this is, I won't say it's an issue, but it is something we need to have plans for if we're not gonna have the same server, not have access to the same service that we've had before, right? And maybe that answer is like, look, not every school has athletic training services at the same capacity that we do right now, right? I would advocate having what we have right now. I think it's very helpful and safe for our students, right? But the reality is not every high school provides that type of level of support, right? So is that something we want to continue or not? Do we value that as a community in school and stuff? So, and if we do, which again, I think is a good thing, we got to get up to speed with how that's being handled, like across different schools and stuff like that, and with the times. And that's not, it's going to be more expensive than the current model, I guess is the
Yes,
short.
for sure.
Okay. Give me, yeah, can someone just filibuster for a second? I gotta pull up the specific questions I have to ask you about.
Why don't we close out community input, right? So it's now 8 o'clock, just past 8 o'clock. This is our second round of community input. I don't see anybody in our audience tonight, so unless somebody's running at the door.
Nope.
Killing
I hear
some time. Still killing some time.
Yep, ready?
We're gonna close our second community input. All right.
All right, I need you guys to answer this. This is directly from the, so preface this before we jump into it. We talked a couple meetings ago about remaining on the building aid list, right? We did our application by the due date, we sent it in, they're happy with us for that, wonderful. But we need in our minutes, sorry, Jen, very specific yes or no answers to 4 very specific questions that has to be documented in our minutes. So I'm gonna ask you those as a board. Can you say yes or no?
Individually or as a
No,
board?
as a board, right? Like, that we've had this discussion, the board's like, we understand. I guess more, you understand, right? First one, the board desires that the project remain on the prioritized list.
Yes.
Yes.
Good, 1 for 1. The board is as it's described in the building aid application. We have not changed the description of the project. This project, for just the listening audience who maybe don't know, to stay on the priority list, it has to be original project that was there, which is the new building project from 2024, right? We're remaining on the list in the event, to give some context, why we remain on the list, we're not proposing that project again, but we're reserving our spot on the list in case rules change around building aid, and we can then, we want to be flexible and be able to access it if we can. So, are you comfortable with the project as it was described in the building aid application? Are you still comfortable with that being the project on the list? You don't really have a choice.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you for not giving me a choice.
Right. The total estimated project costs listed on our application is the same cost that we've been using the whole time. So we used the original cost, which was 44 million. When we did the application last year, we put a 3% increase in because of, inflation and everything else. We took that number and we did an additional 3% inflation, which means that the cost for that project would now approximately be $48,017,000. Do you understand and are comfortable with that number is the number for that project?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Not wicked comfortable, but
But in terms of that project, remember, that's not the project we're proposing next March, everyone. We're not putting a $48 million project on the warrant next year. All right. If this project is selecting for building aid, and the project is put forward for voter consideration, we will include that it is subject to receiving the actual building aid. So that means in your warrant, as you put this on originally,
Yes.
you have to include that, the numbers and figures, how it relates to the building aid stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. Those were the 4 specific questions. Thank you for answering that. We have that in our minutes now, so we can send it along with our application. So, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else on GMS?
Yes. We met with our advisory committee last week, and the advisory committee came to the conclusion that there's not a lot of value in having an additional community forum at this time. We don't have a lot of additional information. We didn't have a lot of attendance at the last one. So there's not a lot of added value for us to have an additional one at this time. That doesn't mean we won't continue to update the website. We need to do an update with that. We've been in contact with Emily, the Harriman PR person, to do that. We got the video squared away from the last forum. We'll put that out on our social media and everything from there. But is the board comfortable with us canceling that?
Yes.
Community
Yep.
forum? Great. So that was May 18th, but we'll cancel it now. We'll have them in the fall, and we'll revisit them when we have more relevant.
I think that's the right time, as we talked about.
And then that's it for GMS, other than the advisory committee is continuing to meet. Good dialogue last week that we met.
Did you get any further update on anticipated, like, preliminary work that would need to be completed and timelines on that?
So we do, actually, we have to talk about that, the vernal pool study.
Yeah, so a couple of studies that we might need to do more sooner than later. One is a vernal pool study, because it's vernal pool season. I'm not sure what a vernal pool is, but
All I gathered from that conversation was that that season ends and
Yeah,
then there's
so-
no more vernal pools.
But
Yeah.
what we do need to ask, right, is that Harriman has reached out to us and said that between that study and there's also a wetland delineation study that needs to happen. Also in this like peak season, like it has to be done at basically now, like the season is closing. So they have someone that they've been speaking with just to kind of get rough estimates of what it would look like. And they can, ask for a proposal, but they wanted to make sure before they did that they were going to be, in compliance with our process for procurement, sorry. So we do have, let me pull that up, the amounts we have. So the wetland delineation study, is estimated between $10,000 to $15,000. And the vernal pool study is $4,000 to $8,000, their estimate. So what we can do is ask them if they, if we would like to just go with the person who is able to do this study right away, like they are available because of the time frame that we're looking at. They could, ask to see if they could get 3 quotes, but again, that's going to take more time and get us further away
And
from the
this is
season.
necessary and essential to the project?
Yes, because essentially what it tells them is where they can build. Like if they come up with a design plan and then do this after the fact, they may have to redesign part of the plan and then cost a lot more money for it.
So was this done the last GMS?
That's my
It
next
was
question.
not done for the project in '24. We actually had a letter from someone, someone had come in, basically to do an assessment. But in that letter, their last recommendation is we continue to recommend that you do these studies, these particular studies during, peak season, to actually have like an accurate.
What's the
we
drop
didn't
dead
get as
date?
far along with the last one, I don't think, in terms of the deliverable.
Well, I know we talked, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was talk where it was gonna go, we were gonna have to elevate the new school.
Yeah,
Right.
but I don't think that they had done, I don't recall them doing vernal pool studies or wetland delineation studies at that time.
This is above my pay grade.
We
I
looked
mean,
through all
if
the
it's
Under scope of
documents.
services?
What's that?
Is this already included in their scope of services?
No, so, as far as Harriman?
Yeah.
No, this would be a third-party consultant, so this would be, something we would pay for. This wouldn't be,
What's the drop dead date? When does mud season end?
now.
You mean vernal pools?
I think this season, it basically April to, like, is the peak, so like being we're at the tail end
How
right
come
now.
it wasn't identified beforehand that we need these studies?
That, I suppose I should have asked to see
I
if there were
asked
other.
this question at the, I asked them on this meeting whether there was any other, thinking site-wise,
Yeah.
is there any other site work that we're gonna need, at any point prior to this, to get to the final stage, and they were like, yeah, so these things.
And I will say that those
So
are the two
is it more than
studies-
one thing, or is this
The
these two
vernal
things?
pool, these 2 things. are
And
the
those are
things they
the two
identified.
studies that, they're recommending now again for, like, to make sure that we're having accurate pricing for the plan that we're choosing. But they did give me other, studies that could potentially be on the table, but we don't know that yet, so I didn't wanna,
I feel like we spend a tremendous amount of money on studies. That's my, resistance to all this. And we've spent a tremendous amount over the years on plans and studies, and it's really hasn't done us any
So
good.
my understanding is that ultimately, these are things that will be necessary in order for them to actually complete the
Put a
work.
shovel in the ground?
It's not like may help us make a better decision. I think it's like a,
We
that was my
need-
understanding.
necessary for them to be
We
able to
need
have
to
an
do
accurate
this
number.
to get to X
Yes,
to get to March.
that's my understanding. That was my understanding, right? That was your understanding.
I'm just surprised it wasn't in their estimates or in their scope of services. You know what I mean? Like if they've given us a number, right, and that number is all inclusive to get us to X, why is this above and beyond?
Yeah, I think if I had to guess, I think that we packed a lot in a tight timeline, and they've been trying to hit everything, and
But
I
yet
think that
we're just approving up to $60,000 and
well,
above.
that was why I asked the question at the meeting.
And I do say, I mean, their contract does indicate, their scope, and that there are other things that we may have to go outside of, our contract with Harriman to do.
I think part of it too is,
That should have been in
is we are asking for a lot of specifics around costs, right? And I think this is one of the things, like, they potentially may not put shovels in the ground until the calendar year of 2028, right? In some areas of the project, right? And in some instances, I think when you're doing building projects, if you you would have to do this study at some, I don't know if this is the truth, but like, I'm trying to think of what could lead us to this right now. In some projects, you could wait to do this study, this vernal pool study, next year, right? In the April 2027, before you start the construction. But we've been so adamant about that number on the warrant being the number with no exceptions to it, that I think they're erring on the side of like, well, then get this done ahead of time, so we don't have to say, hey, we're gonna have to add this extra thing for $10,000 because the vernal pool study showed you need this thing now, right?
Right.
I'm speculating that's why we hadn't heard about it until the last advisory meeting, because we keep pounding them in those advisory meetings, like the number has to be exact, every freaking detail needs to be included in this, right? Like when we bring it to voters, so I think maybe they're pivoting in the sequencing of some of this work to ensure that it's the most accurate number that they can give us.
Yeah.
Speculating, but that.
So in this case, right, to put a shovel in the ground, they need these studies to get permits, but they're doing this as a risk reduction to make sure we don't come up with our plan, we get it approved, and then they go to do these studies to go obtain the permits, and then all of a sudden they're like,
Changes.
crap, I gotta shift this corner over.
And then we have to hit a contingency.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have a ROM risk that we just apply with my company to do this, and then once we go for permits, it's just included in that ROM risk, but we don't operate that way here. So, and that's really hard to operate that way.
And we did send them some stuff that was helpful, after that advisory meeting, Julie had studies from.
So what's the amount that you're
It's-
looking to approve?
It's like,
I
Up
mean,
to-
essentially, it's not so much that we're looking for the approval amount at this point, it's to add, are we good with having, basically
Like, this
waiving
is-
the procurement process of
Right,
having.
I mean, when you look at these costs of these particular studies, this is something that we can cover from our current budget, right? Like a $4,000 vernal pool study, we can absorb $4,000 in this fiscal budget, right? We don't have to touch the money we've set aside for the bigger Harriman stuff, right?
Okay.
And then, I think the question Julie asking is like, the other one, which could go over 10,000, says 10 to 15, that's on that line of whether or not we need 3 bids before we make a decision on it, right? I don't think there's a ton of people who can do this in the time frame we're talking on. Harriman said they can get us a person, they can get us 3 quotes, it's just gonna take longer to get 3 quotes, right? Or they can get a quote with someone they're comfortable with and get the work done sooner than later.
I'd say just get the work done sooner than later.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
We have that flexibility in our policy.
We do, right,
Correct.
yeah. And this fits in
And
those
we're-
exemptions of
right.
like timely decisions, right? Right. And this is like, this is different because this is the project, but like that longer discussion I want to have, like, is there trust for us to just do this, right? We identified to do it. The policy says the BA can make that decision, right? Like, are we good trust-wise on the BA making those decisions and stuff,
So I will also say is like, let's make sure we get the signed off and official reports, because then we should be adding this to our site documentation, just in general, because if someone goes, well, have you done this? Well, the site hasn't changed, here you go.
Yes.
And go from there. So then it should be a delta study versus starting from blank.
Well, thank you. I'll let Harriman know.
Last thing about GMS, the board had asked last time about cost of a new building.
Yes.
Right, like I think that question came up. They gave us a rough estimate based upon square footage and needs, like classroom needs and stuff like that. They would estimate this is a rough estimate, I wanna stress.
Yeah.
That it would likely cost between $40.5 million and $46 million. And I would go with that high end with where everything is right now.
Yeah.
And that's in today's money. You know, you factor in a couple of years down the road, you're talking more. So you're talking at least $10 million difference between the two.
That's without any land procurement or.
Right, and which we have the land if it was gonna be the same site, but just like that's using the land at GMS,
Yep,
so on and
yep,
so forth.
yep.
This is what I have for GMS. I have one last thing that's not here on old business. I'm not sure, I'm sure I accidentally deleted it. FIC update real quick. Dan, this is more, for you, and if Ray was here. We've had a couple people reach out
Oh,
about
okay.
being community, representatives. They've asked if they can come to a couple meetings and test it out first.
Test drive.
Before committing to a 3-year term. I guess without Ray here, you're speaking on behalf of the FIC, and maybe the board in general wants to weigh in. Would people be comfortable with some community members coming and?
They're always welcome to go. It's a public meeting.
Yeah,
I know, I
it's
said
a
that,
public
but-
meeting. They can sit in the
Yeah.
public. I don't have any issues with it.
Yeah, I do have some interest, but everyone has been like, that's a big commitment, 3 years, and I'm not quite sure what I'm getting myself into yet. So they've asked if they can come to a couple meetings. Told them like, you can watch the videos. I've sent some agendas and guidelines and stuff, but I think that people want to explore for themselves what the commitment
Love it.
is.
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
okay,
Appreciate their interest.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
and that's all I got for old business.
Okay. We have the manifest this evening. The manifest has 3 signatures.
Yep.
Okay. In terms of the summary, we have accounts payable for $310,616.56. That was health insurance. We have another accounts payable of $65,353.41. A payroll manifest of $402,007.30. 403B, $8,426.53, and credit card manifest of $13,167.90. We've already covered our community input. We'll move into school board comments. What do we have tonight?
Nothing.
See, we had our first CIP meeting Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fairly short organizational meeting. Pete Stone's going to be the chair, and Mike Parker will be the vice chair.
Okay. Lots of activities here as we approach the end of the school year. So thank you to the administration, the school staff, right, the teachers, the support staff, everyone, as we approach the final handful of weeks or so, and all the exciting activities in our buildings.
Truly appreciate the patience it's going to take to go through the next 6 weeks, 8
Yes,
weeks, whatever it
yes.
is.
All right, with that concludes our meeting this evening. The board does have some non-public business tonight under RSA 91A3, A, B, and C. With that, I will entertain a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Shoemaker, second by Mr. Plansky. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Shoemaker, I'm an aye. Mr. Plansky?
Aye.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
That carries 4-0. All right, everyone, thank you very much.